Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So I've just had a 4-hour conversation with Joe Firestone, and I think it went immensely well. He was giving me the business. He was mansplaining to me about MMT at one point. But no, we were having a good spirited back and forth on some of it. I caught the volume thing beforehand. All right. It was a good spirited conversation. I like the guy. Yeah, I like the guy. It was a good conversation. So check that out. That was actually pretty good. 4 hours. I gotta be honest. I don't expect anybody to stay for 4 hours, but some people did. So it was like 40 people at the end. But this conversation is going to be different. So this is a mellowing out conversation. Let's say it that way. That hits politics, but not necessarily hits it directly. The People's Party. So the Draft Sanders people are switching their focus from Draft Sanders into a People's Party. Essentially this kind of something that's, I would imagine it seems like they're trying to pull themselves away from the Sanders model and go with this idea of a third party. We're a third party that focuses on people. What do the people want? And part of the letter that they used to kind of spearhead that off was this idea of these guys cheated. They monstrously cheated. However bad you thought the cheating was worse. They cheated the guy. Major party cheated one of the people running in as a candidate. Lied about it. Never wanted to own up to it. And then at the end of it, when the revelations came out, we're moving forward. We're not going to talk about it. You're going to vote for us because you have nobody else to vote for other than those maniacs. So you can understand that people who were avid supporters of Sanders, and Brana definitely considers themselves one of them, he used to work for Sanders, is looking at this saying, no, we need to have another vehicle that represents the left's interests. We need something else. That's the first point. The second point has to do with this thing of breaking the monopoly of ideas. Ultimately, the world that we have is for the most part agreed upon by the left and the right to varying degrees. But they ultimately agree on the makeup and the ranges of debate that these two things go on. I'm saying that has no solutions associated with it. And most of the time, it doesn't even have context. They've gotten to the point of politics for the sake of politics, completely missing the point that politics had a point. It had a social point. It wasn't done just for this thing of optics, just for this thing of politics. There was a point. Now, the reason I say this is that we've reached post-reality. Like, they don't argue about the actual issues that addresses the public. They argue about these trivial pursuits. The things that are played on in the news are so trivial. They're so minor. There in no way are the levers or the ranges of debate or the battles that need to be had. Let me give an example. So I have an uncle, and I have several uncles actually, but this particular uncle was not necessarily, he was arranged in a way that that ran counter to society. Let's put it that way. And so he had a jail thing on his record, earned by the way, but he had it on his record. So every job that he got after he got out of prison, for the most part, was just these minor run-of-the-mill, fast food jobs. Grown man working for fast food jobs. And I know there are a lot of adults who work fast food, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying the only skill set and the only thing that he could do was work a low-wage job. He was going to be in perpetual poverty for the rest of his life. And it ended up where he actually lost that particular job because cops went to the job for some reason. I don't even remember what the reason was. But they got rid of him after that. Now, he was still working at this point, but mind you, again, perpetual poverty. He was living with my grandmother and his mom. My grandmother gets her hair done. And in pursuit to getting her hair done, the hairdresser leaves at one point. And either the hairdresser saw him or he was at the house. But either way, the hairdresser picks him up. And he sticks up the hairdresser. Now, this is fucking amazing. It's not as if the hairdresser doesn't know who he is. Otherwise, she wouldn't have picked him up in the first place. And he I'm slightly laughing because this is insane, by the way. And he's like, I'm going to take you to the bank and I want you to get money out. Certainly, this woman is a working woman. She just did hair. My grandmother barely pays for it. She doesn't have means in this way. Like, this is not like you sticking somebody up with a huge amount of cash. And even if you did, that necessarily wouldn't be right. I'm just making the point that this person does not have anything. You're squeezing blood from a turnip. How much do you think you're going to get? And how far do you think you're going to get? And what are you going to do in order to keep this person from telling on you? Oh, those are damning questions. But the moment that you took that action, those questions were going to be asked. They had to be asked. There's no way around it. Now, she gets away at some point. And now this woman has the indignity of talking to my grandmother and feeling somewhat guilty in this just by being a human being. Not because she did anything wrong, but ultimately just as a human being who has to go to this older woman and tell her that, yes, your son stuck me up. Your son stuck me up. I talked to my uncle after he was processed and everything else. And my question to him was, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, what the fuck are you doing? What did you think you were going to do? Why did you think you were going to get away? What the fuck were you doing? This is monstrously stupid and bad. Like, hey, there's no exit plan. So even if what you're doing was wrong, you had no exit plan. Like, the structure of what took place led to one solution, meaning you were going to kill that woman, or were you going to kill that woman? And if you weren't, oh my God, that's monstrously stupid. It's monstrously stupid either way. But it's this thing of, what the fuck are you doing? And his response to me was more along this thing of, things were bad, and I responded poorly to the things that were bad. Like, there's my cousin, you know, he came into the kitchen when I had this conversation with him, and he was kind of asking me, like, what the fuck is wrong with him? What's wrong with him? And I was trying to explain this to him from the standpoint of, look, from your standpoint, you don't necessarily have the pressures that are applied to you that he's had applied to him. And even though he's made one horrible choice after the next, he's narrowed his decision space to the point where he was under a persistent stress from either economics, meaning his access to things, or society's stigma on him, how that society views you. Certainly he has this awareness of how that society views you. What's the response? What's the pressure cooker? Like, one personality to the next. So let's say you had 100 personalities. How would 100 personalities respond in that particular situation? Certainly there are going to be some that exhibit aberrant behavior. That was aberrant behavior. That was fucking horrible behavior. That's horrible behavior. But I would say to some degree he felt compelled to behave in a particular way. And that way was not good at all. Now, the point that I'm getting at here is that the two-party system that we currently have, for the most part, have one solution to this stuff, and that's put people in prison. Just put people in prison. That's it. Just throw away the key. But it never actually deals with the honest contextual thing of, well, wait a minute, why do people behave in this way in the first place? Isn't that the operative question as opposed to just putting people in prison? I would make a case that human beings, any conversation about a human being that's separate and distinct from the environment that the human being is in, is a failed conversation. Human beings don't behave as if they're from a void. There is no such thing as a void with regards to a human being. That person needs air, food, shelter, clothing, water, this ability to express itself and have that self-affirmed in regards to the society that he's in. Those things are required just for a human being. Meaning a human being was not born self-sufficient within himself. That's all it means. He requires things. What happens when a human being does not get those things? Like, so, say for instance, our society devolves into, there's a solar flare, something takes place, food is scarce, energy reserves are scarce, etc. You have this kind of environment that does not necessarily, society implodes. Let's say it that way. Society implodes. Do you think people will behave better, or do you think people will behave worse? when they don't necessarily have the food that they need to feed their family and their kids? Explain to me. Which do you think? Do you think you'll see the better of their nature? I mean, do you think human beings would have this godlike level that says, I will let my wife and kid go hungry so you can be okay? No, come on. We know certainly that's not going to be the case. People behave in ways to ensure they have the things that they need. No one likes to be without. And yes, people exhibit aberrant behavior when they don't necessarily get those things. If the two-party system don't take context into account, then they can never solve that issue. They can never come close to solving that issue. Cannot touch that issue. This issue of crime and everything else, for the most part, boils down to them of lock them up. Yes, I'm going to take money from prison lobbyists. Lock them up. Lock them up. We don't care why they do these things. Lock them up. We have 5% of our world's population, if 25% in our prisons. Meaning 25% of the people on this planet that are in prison are in our jails. That's fucking amazing. That is fucking amazing. Land of the free. Home of the brave. Putting people in cages because they're smoking a plant. This isn't working. That's my point. And at the very least, having a third argument, a third conversation as to, hey, maybe there's another way to deal with criminal justice as opposed to throwing people in prison. And no, you can't necessarily have this argument and conversation about this particular individual without necessarily taking into the society to which that individual belongs. They are inextricably linked. That person is not in the void. That person is not acting purely just as the way the person acts. He has a society, he has an upbringing, he has a culture. All those things are associated with who the person is. You have poverty. So, my hope, if they're able to get something like this established, is that the argument to criminal justice and the argument to... Look, I don't think you solve crime without solving poverty, frankly. Like, I don't think you have this thing of, you can have this decent conversation about how do you deal with areas of criminal justice, how do you deal with cops killings, how do you deal with all this stuff, without having the conversation about how do you deal with poverty. It's that straightforward. And yeah, stop locking people up for stupid shit. That too. That too. That's a big fucking deal. Stop locking people up for stupid shit. Alright, let's see what people got. Red Economics. Hello, Red Economics. I'm shocked that you guys are up this late. Lock them up or have a fair society. Easily answer, lock them up. Think about this. Think about the amount of money it costs to put somebody in prison, as opposed to giving that person a job. Like, I can put, what, $60,000 to keep that person in prison a year, or I can give that person a job for $45,000 and have that money invested back into the society. You make more bang for your buck dealing with issues of poverty. That's my point. Yes, get rid of these dumbass drug laws. And I would make the case, getting rid of the drug laws also gets rid of this issue of cops engaging in society in the way that cops engage in their societies. Do you honestly want a cop wasting his time putting somebody in prison for getting high or stoned? Do you really want to put people in cages because they're smoking a plant or they're inhaling a drug? Like, come on, man. That's all. This is insane. The Nixon thing came out saying they did the drug war to lock up blacks and hippies because they thought that they were going to form some kind of unit or some kind of political faction. You can castigate them on television every night. Look at those hippies, look at those liberals, and, you know, this kind of political capital. Even though that was known, this is the aggravating thing about Obama, man. Even though that is known, I'm pretty sure he knows that. In no way did he exert any kind of presidential authority whatsoever to deal with that issue of pot and crime. None. The guy was a stoner in and of himself, which is, again, still nothing on that. Nothing on it. It is perfectly okay to put people in cages for smoking a plant. Locking up marijuana using parents who's taking care of their kids. Yeah, that's insane. Think about that. We're going to put you in a cage. It's like, wait a minute. You're putting me in a cage for smoking a plant. Yes. Yes. And then the cop would be uppity about it. Like, yes, you're breaking the law. You're breaking the law. Get in this goddamn cage. Go, go. Being indignant about it, it's amazing. The guy could be an alcoholic. The guy could totally be an alcoholic. And in no way sees the... I find that amazing. I find that amazing. It's like the programming that society gives them. They don't necessarily ever look beyond the programming. It's like, yes, this is against the law, but you're an alcoholic. But alcohol is okay with the law. But both of them are chemical substances. Why is your chemical substance better than mine? It's against the law. I get that, but you're an alcoholic. It's like you're an alcoholic, you're on a substance. But you're saying your substance is better than mine. It's fucking amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Meanwhile, people could drink all the... Yeah, they smoke tobacco around their kids. Yes, yes. Tobacco kills you in X number of years. That's okay. That's okay. It's... And it's amazing. I had this guy at one of my jobs, and somehow the subject of pot came up. I don't know how the subject came up, but it came up. And he's like, he was talking about one of his neighbors saying their kids turned him in for smoking pot. And he was like, yeah, he was a horrible parent. He was a horrible parent. He was smoking pot. And two of the other hippies that worked with me were like, you honestly believe that the person was bad because they were smoking a plant? Yes, I do. It's against the law. I felt so bad for him. Like, I thought to myself, oh, that's sad. That's so sad. That's immensely sad. He's taking the programming hook, line, and sinker. That's amazingly sad. That's amazingly sad. It's like no capacity to look beyond what you're being told. They just bow their heads and fall in line, and they conform their worldview to these small little boxes. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I like your scarf, Javon. Oh, thank you. It's cold here. It's really cold here. If your drugs were made by corporate America, you'd be okay, probably. Well, you know they've been investing in the pot now, right? They've been investing in the pot. What, pot is legal in 25% of the states. Other states are probably going to get it. Washington, D.C., it's legal to smoke in at this point. They've been investing into pot, if I'm not mistaken, Monsanto. My dude never went over the speed limit. I'm going to take a legal drug now to help me sleep. Yeah, I know. Like, that's amazing. It's like coffee. Anything, all these... Sugar. Sugar. Think about this. Your society, your capitalistic society has this thing where people say, hey, I know how I can make a buck. I can sell dirt cheap food that's going to give somebody cancer in 20 years. In these little places. I can pay people shit and piss. And I can get people to buy those things. I can make it taste really good. But that's all that really matters. And I'm going to make cash from that. Now, pursuant to you making cash from that, you have these things that spring up all over the place. The food it tastes pretty damn good. Now, mind you, what, like green slime or something, or green foam they were using to make these hamburgers where 20 or 30% of it wasn't even a hamburger? It's fucking amazing. But mind you, it doesn't matter. The goal of it is not the hamburger. The goal is not nutrition. The goal of it is to make profit. Now, I say this to say these little burger joints spring up all over the place. All over the place. They're all over. And your society gets fat. Your society gets obese. Massively obese. We're expected as human beings to have these things all around us. To have our society say these things are perfectly okay. And yet, have to deal with the consequences of those things. Meaning, if you have a society that has gotten immensely obese, if you're continuously pretending as if it boils down to the individual choice, you are insane. And at some point, it becomes somewhat of an epidemic based upon the way you've organized your particular society. These guys are out there to make profit. They don't care about nutrition or any of this other stuff. They're trying to make profit. So you're passing 4 or 5 burger joints on your way home. And you're like, I'm an individual and I'm making my own individual choices. I'm passing 4 or 5 burger joints on the way home. I am starving after work. I'm passing 4 or 5 burger joints on the way home. Is it an individual choice at that point? Your society tells you, okay, you're going with the flow of society. You have to actually go against the grain in order to not behave in a particular way at that point. I'm saying these things are not purely individual choice. It takes this greater hurdle in order to get over it in regards to not behaving a particular way, particularly when your society is going a particular way. But pot is bad. In 20 years, that garbage is going to give somebody cancer. The person is not going to attribute it to the garbage they were eating. They're just going to say, oh my God, I've cancer, but I've been falling to cancer. God hates me. Where's God? Where's God? That's what they're going to say. They're not going to make the association that the hamburgers that they were eating every other day for the past X number of years, that had all sorts of shit in it, in some way, weakened their body in a way, contorted their body in a way, did not give their body the things that it needed in a way that maybe gave them some cellular growth that caused some sort of illness later on. But that's okay though. That part's okay. Tobacco, that definitely gives you cancer. What? Of 90% of the people who get cancer, lung cancer, 90% is cancer related or smoke related. Think about that. You have a drug where there is a direct correlation with giving them something that's going to kill them. That's legal. But the cop who pulls you over for pot will glare at you menacingly. Oh, you're breaking the law. You're breaking the law. It's amazing. The other stuff is okay. The other stuff will kill you. The other stuff will weaken your body. The other stuff will make you large and obese. Those things are okay. I'm just saying that this is massively disingenuous in regards to saying this thing is horrible, this thing is a bad thing, but this other stuff is perfectly okay. It's just massively disingenuous. But you have people fall in line. You look at it and say, yes, the law is telling us the right thing. It's amazing. DiCaprio investment in meatless burgers to reduce carbon emissions. If food tastes shitty is no point. Agreed. Independent outsider, agreed. Agreed. I don't think people are so empathetic that they're going to give up meat for something that tastes pretty bad. At that point, again, that thing in you has to push you over the hurdle to actually do that. At that point, you just give up hamburgers. It's like if you care that much, you just give up hamburgers. Nobody in their right mind. Yeah, look, we have grain-fed burger joints, farm-to-table burger joints in Virginia. Richmond has become this little enclave, man. There's these little areas in Carytown that has like spas and health joints and new age places, all this stuff. It's like this little fortress of new aginess. Farm to table, they have a lot. And we have burger joints that are Station 2. It's one of my favorite burger joints. It's fucking amazing. Fucking amazing joint. My wife and we had a flash mob. I had a flash mob wedding proposal. Meeting, my wife is sitting there, and Bruno Mars comes on. They ring a bell. Bruno Mars comes on and says, I think I want to marry you. And everybody gets up and starts dancing for 30 seconds. My wife is sitting there being a fat kid with a french fry in her mouth like, oh my God, what's taking place? And what am I supposed to do in this moment? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? At the end of it, everyone sits down and I propose. And yeah, people from the job and everything else. It was awesome. It was awesome. One of my favorite burger joints. Even though it's, you know, farm to table and everything else, and even though they're farm raised, ultimately you still hit it with this thing of carbon emissions. Like, yeah, carbon emissions, man. They joked Al Gore because they were saying, making this good point. Hey, you've gained weight, Al Gore. What have you been eating? This was the joke, honestly. What have you been eating? And have you given up eating meat? Because eating meat is just as bad for the environment than oil and gas. You bring that up, you bring up oil and gas in your film, you say nothing about animal agriculture. And they're joking Al Gore on his weight. They shouldn't joke him on his weight. But what they're saying is true, at the very least. No, mind you, they don't give a shit about this. They're trying to score political points. I'm just saying, animal agriculture is also part of that equation. It is a difficult thing to give up meat. It is a difficult thing to give up meat. And vegetarians have all my respect in the world. They are better people than I am. I swear to God. I've tried, and I've failed miserably. And the things that you try to like replace it with, look, I'm sorry. Boca burgers are nice. Some of these meatless products are nice. They're not the real thing. When you've had a fucking awesome hamburger and you bite into that hamburger and it's a little bit of pink inside, it's perfect. And yes, there's bacon. Oh man, Nothing competes. I'm sorry. Either you just give that up, but I don't think you can replace it. Particularly if you've had like hamburgers for your entire life. Like, you're raised on it. This idea of being a vegetarian was this weird thing, this fringe element from your particular context. And as you get older, you start having these moral qualms about meat. And you say to yourself, oh man, I don't want to keep eating this. And so I'm going to stop eating this. And then it happens. Oh, you have things tearing at the corners of your mind. It's like, okay, I'll just start eating some of this. It's hard, man. It's hard. It's hard. I'm now drooling. Yes, I'm sorry, RoboCage Rattler, man. I'm sorry. That's how I experience meat. I experience it in epic terms sometimes. Yes. Can't give it up. Yeah. When smoking pit, it was a girl's bathroom. LLC. Hi, Garden and everyone. The guys just chewed tobacco. Right. He's chewing something that's going to give him mouth cancer. But screaming at you. Yeah. It's tough. Like, I watch on Real Progressives, there's a vegan woman from Australia. She has this really sweet voice. It's almost like, it's like a sex hotline voice, if I'm being honest. I don't mean that as an insult. I'm just using it purely as descriptive. Don't get me into sexism shit. This is purely descriptive. And she's like whispers. She's Australian. She has this Australian accent. It's like, I'm coming down to you from blah, 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 blah. Now, 5 minutes into her speeches, I always feel like this woman is profoundly better than I am. This woman is absolutely better than I am. Because it goes to this level of beyond just vegetarianism to veganism and, you know, animal rights, etc., etc. And I agree with her on it. Her argument, I hold her argument is true, which is the hard part. You hold the argument is true, and yet there's a but. There's a but. And the but feels so trivial. But the but is there nonetheless. It tastes so good. It tastes so good. I'm sorry. That feels so trivial. I'm sorry. It feels trivial. Which is why I say she's a better person than I am. It's like I accept her argument is true, and I can't do anything about it. At least I have a hard time feeling to pull myself away from it. It's in you. It's like it gets its hooks in you. I take those people as better people than I am. I honestly do. I know going vegan would be healthier, yes, and better for the planet, yes, but burger, steak, cheese, oh yes. God should not have made them taste so good. It's God's fault. It's God's fault. I'm blaming God. I'm blaming God. Yes, I'm blaming God. Jamal, I'm a vegan not because I care about the animals, but because they didn't do anything to me. So it's not fair for me to aid in hurting them. I agree. Look, I made this argument myself. Why is it okay to kill an animal in this way? Like, it's a life. Do we agree that it's a life? All right, fair enough. We agree that it's a life. Certainly it's a life. Is that life like us? In many cases, yes. The genetics are absolutely close. Do these things care for their families? Yes. Do they care for their kids? Yes. Do they exhibit behavior where they're communicating with one another? Yes. Do they have pain? Yes. Yes. Do they show emotion? Yes. So what's the justification? Why is it okay not to kill human beings? I mean, why is this not to kill human beings? But it's okay to kill animals if they're that close to us. Is the only thing intelligence? Like, is the argument intelligence? Because we have intelligence, we are able to do this. Our taste buds entitle us to this. That's a thin argument, man. That's a thin argument. I mean, if you're going to make the case that says it's okay to kill animals because animals are not human beings, fair enough. Is it okay for an alien civilization that maxes us out in technology to eat us? Our argument is we're brighter, we're smarter, we communicate, we create art. We create art so we can eat them. Another civilization. Can they do the same thing to us, and does the justification still last in that particular case? Or are we going to be hypocrites and say, wait a minute. I know he said it was okay to do this to animals, but now we have a difference of opinion. I take their argument to be true. That's why I loathe myself on this point. Now, it's like a drug addict. It's like you bite into that. I get the same thing. Caramelized onions, bacon. Caramelized onions, extra bacon. Medium. You have to have medium. Anything else is uncivilized. Medium. Farm raised. It had a good life. I'm taking that life, but it had a good life. Yeah, I take their argument to be true. I take their argument to be true. Honestly, I do. I absolutely do. We're animals ourselves, yes. Damn you, Stevie Bacon. I've been a vegan and vegetarian before. I still eat mostly veggies. My taste buds has definitely shifted over the years. I crave mostly healthy foods. Some just fried chicken once in a while. Killing for food is acceptable. I don't make the rules. Torture factories, however, are not acceptable. How do you get to the point of having killing for food? But yes, but why? What's the justification? Like, what's the argument? That's just asserting something. It is okay to, you know, whatever. You can assert whatever you want. Why, though? Why? What's the philosophical reasoning for it? What's the justification? They're working on fake meat that tastes like real meat. Your struggle will be over soon, Jamal. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Being better through science. Just being a better person through science. But this is going to, man, that's going to be gross. What you're talking about, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about that meat that's not meat. Like they're making it. It wasn't born or anything else. They're making it like in a laboratory and it's supposed to taste like chicken. That's gross when you think about it. That's gross when you think about it. But why is it not gross when you think about killing another animal, ripping its flesh and eating it? Why is one gross but the other is not? Think about it. One grosses you out. One absolutely is gross when you think about it. These guys created something in a lab that's supposed to taste like chicken. What the fuck did they create in a laboratory? As opposed to that chicken was running on the ground somewhere. That chicken had a life and everything else. I killed that chicken. I ripped his guts out and I'm eating on its flesh. Why is one gross and the other not? Yeah, there is a grossness there. Maybe it's just me. I'm okay with eating fish because they don't seem to have much consciousness except to survive. Yeah, they try to get away from you when you try to eat them. Yeah, they do. They are aware that when their life is at stake. That's true. That's true. But the same argument, right? So the argument is consciousness. Our consciousness, our superior consciousness, gives us carte blanche. Is that the argument? That seems to be the argument I'm hearing. That seems to be the argument. I hope you keep that argument when, you know, aliens come and decide to eat you, treat you as cows. The argument is, I don't make the rules. We're built around killing things and eating them. Not built around anything. Look, you're not built around anything. Your species is malleable. At some point, it's not about making the rules. Who's making the rules? I'm asking you, what's the philosophical justification for eating animals? What's your case? What's the thing that gives you carte blanche to say this? You're asserting it, saying, I don't make the rules. I'm just doing it. I'm just doing it. I'm asking you a different question. I'm not talking about the rules. How can we demonize Monsanto and kill when we don't need to? How can we demonize Monsanto and kill when we don't need to? All right, that's my issue. That's what I'm asking. I've already said I'm a carnivore. So I get we don't make the rules, etc., etc. Right. I'm asking a different question. What's the argument for it? What's the refutation for, is it okay? What makes it okay to kill these things? Yeah. I think it's a fair question, right? How is it not a fair question? Yeah, Garnome, we're having a different question. Fish are self-aware, Garnome. I'm eating sushi, damn it. Cut out cow and pig, though. Somebody chat show. It's real. Oh, Isaiah Stewart. Eating raw greens have so much energy from the sun to revitalize your cells. You're also a better person than I am, Isaiah. Trioxin's Revenge. Wouldn't it be awesome if robots take over and start eating us? No, that would not be awesome at all. 7 Janto. We're omnivores. We can go either way. Yes. Agreed. Agreed. It's cultural. That's my point. That's the point I'm trying to get at. It's not about making the rules. It's cultural. We choose. Pigs breed so quickly they either get eaten or starve. Oh, that's the argument of, well, hey, I mean, come on. We're doing them a favor. We're doing them a favor. Rebel Cage Rattler, exactly. Stephanie, we are omnivores. Stephanie Chateau, I've thought about the alien philosophy. That's why I eat fish and chicken, but not pig or cow. If human beings are smarter, they deserve to survive and eat derpy, though. I don't know what the derpy means. I put lime and salt on my veggies to help it. Cucumber, salads, and pineapples and apples. Yes, you're a better person. You're a better person. I agree. The alien argument intrigues me. That absolutely intrigues me. Human beings, it's easy for us to say, well, look, our consciousness is higher, so it's okay for us to do this. I don't think people engage the argument all that much. They just assume, well, I'm just eating chicken. I don't necessarily come up with a reason for why I need to eat chicken. I am just eating chicken. They don't necessarily think about this thing. Well, wait a minute, the thing is alive. Why is it okay? Why do you think that it's bad to kill human beings, but it's okay to kill animals? Not to mention the torture factories that we put these things in. Why is that okay? Why is it okay? Why is it okay? If you kick your dog, that's a bad thing. If you kill your dog, you could be, you know, put up animal rights charges or something. But you can have torture factories for animals. What the fuck? Why is this okay? What's the argument? And the only thing that I can think of is either A, they're not us, so fuck them, or B, consciousness. A consciousness. We have a higher consciousness. Now, does this argument hold sway if there's an alien species and an alien species decides it wants to eat human beings? You guys kill yourselves. You guys are animals. You guys allow all of half the planet to starve. The fuck is wrong with you? The fuck is wrong with you? There's no consciousness to be found here. If you don't care about yourselves, we're not going to care about you either. And you taste fucking delicious. You taste awesome. It's God's fault. God wouldn't have made you this delicious if God cared about your well-being. I mean, you use the same arguments. Use the same arguments. And I kind of make this point. Do human beings at that moment say, oh my God, you know, we don't buy this argument anymore? Or do they just kind of have this complete unawareness at all? Completely unself-aware. And how one is pretty much dissimilar, the same thing. It's the same thing. So, yeah. It's not the easiest thing, man. Gnome, yes, I am one that can go without meat. I get too hungry or my sugar, insulin regulation gets off whack. I tried, got really weak no matter how I adjust my meal. Same here. Stress can be measured. Correctly designed slaughterhouses have the same low amount of stress as feedlot. Death is okay. Dying is what's... Then the last part. I love chicken on my plate, independent outsider. Yeah, right. I love assertive statements. I love chicken on my plate. Right on. Stephanie Chateau, China eats cats, and so average humans, right, eats cats. And so on, yeah. Those things are cultural. That's my point. Those things are absolutely cultural. Human beings are all sorts of configurable. Yeah. Cats, dogs, cows, rats. Doesn't matter. They're configurable. It's somewhat random or cultural. Many people suffer without meat. I'm one of those people who had a hard time. So I tried. I stopped. My morality was kicking in to some degree. It was bugging the shit out of me, and I stopped. I went all the way down to just having seafood. I felt miserable. Like it was one of those things where I, like, lightheaded to some degree. I felt absolutely miserable. I started adding chicken back into my diet, turkey back into the diet, because I had lost like 20-something pounds. The weight dropped off. Yeah, I had a hard time with that one. I had a hard time. I ended up on turkey and seafood, and that worked. That worked. That was a stable thing. At some point, I wanted to get rid of turkey and kind of slowly wean myself off. I feel better on mostly seafood diet, Stephanie. We need to recognize the sentience of animals, and if we must kill them, we need to give them a decent life. Agreed, 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 agreed. God, no, absolutely agree. And look, this is almost like a karmic repercussion if we're thinking about it. We decide we want to farm animals. We decide we want to eat animals. And our animal methods, the way we're going about it, we're destroying our habitable space, and we're pumping mounds of carbon into the atmosphere, which is increasing the climate on the planet, adversely affecting us through hurricanes and everything else. Karmic repercussions. It's fucking amazing. It's fucking amazing. It's like reality biting back. And to stop adding meat products, not everything needs to be pumped full of bacon, fat, and sugar. Oh, bacon. Leave bacon alone. Leave bacon. Stop picking on bacon. Stop picking on bacon. Dax Jacobs. Isaiah Stewart. Roasted cauliflower is good. There was no cauliflower in the store for days ago when I went looking. Season, I guess. And it worked out for me. I died in my family. Temple Garden is interesting to listen to on this stuff. She's autistic. She has extreme empathy for animals, but she still believes eating them is okay. But they must be handled correctly. Yes, they must be handled correctly. What is that correct way? I mean, granted, of course, a decent life. What does it mean to have a decent life? I don't know. You can make a case. You can make an argument that everything dies. Fair enough. Human beings included. Everything dies. And if you're going to make an argument that everything dies, you can set an arbitrary limit on animals and say that animal is going to die at 30. He's going to have a decent life. 30 to the context of the animal, you know what I mean? Whatever that life is. You're cutting an animal's life short for food production. However you want to cut it. That's what's taking place. Now, if your society arbitrarily just says, all right, look, we're going to eat these things. We're going to give them a decent life. And they're going to live for a particular life in the open as if they were living in nature. But at a certain point, we forfeit their life. And we're going to eat those things. Because this is something in our society that we want. And we also recognize that carbon is a problem with this process. So we need to find a way to deal with that issue. I can see if you say that. In which case, yes, it's somewhat, sustainable maybe. But come on, that argument is somewhat sketchy. Ultimately, you're deciding that you want to kill the animal because you want to eat that animal. It's a self-interested argument. That's all I mean. Like this is the argument of the plutocrat on why giving himself more tax money is better. Hey, it will trickle down. It will trickle down. I will create jobs. I'm a job creator. I'm a job creator. I'm not a rich fuck. I am a job creator. Think of me in those terms. Well, yeah. If you're talking to that guy is going to say more tax cuts. More tax cuts. I think more tax cuts would be great for the economy. I think more tax cuts would be fucking awesome. This is the argument. That sounds like that's the argument to me. We're going to cut their life short of a particular thing because we like to eat these animals. It's mostly our parasites that crave the sugar in the gut. The meat is in our gut rots, slowing down system down. Eat local from farmers, yeah. Earth is where bad animals go, where animals, hell, your dog and cats are sinners from another world. Cats are evil. Yeah, cats are evil. Independent outsider. United States Trump now talking about resurrecting the TPP, including having Fukushima seafood shipped to the United States from Japan. His supporters would eat him alive. I think his supporters would eat him alive. I think that would be the turn of the worm. There's no way he could do it. I would be blown away if Trump did that. Honestly, I would be blown away. Because that was his bellwether. Like, that was the thing that when he heard Bernie Sanders rail against the TPP and he heard his base being pissed off at the TPP, he took that hammer. It's just like banging on the hammer. I'm against it. I'm against those trade deals. Hillary Clinton is for it. Hillary Clinton is for it. She's going to pass it. She's going to pass it. She's for open borders. I'm Donald Trump. I'm going to protect you. If he turns around and signs that thing, oh, man. Man. Now, I did hear that other nations had talked about doing it without the United States. I did hear that. Saying that we, quote-unquote, reworked the TPP. We got you covered. We got you covered. Oh, man, I think that would be a hard road for Trump on that one. If I had a giant freezer, I would hunt my own meat, even though I hate killing. Jamal's chicken used to be dinosaurs. It's karma to be eaten by us. It's like God said this is okay. I love it. Robert Pouquet Ray. My brother's cat. My brother's cat used to stalk me and attack my jeans like fists of fury. Yeah, cats are evil, man. Cats are evil. Mark P. used to help raise chickens, pigs, and goats for food when I was a kid. Lived on a hobby farm. Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's amazing. Independent outsider. Dax, I agree. Burger King is an animal hell. Hell, BK is people hell. Yeah. Yeah. Chicken DNA is from T-Rex DNA. It's T-Rex turn to be eaten by us. Dude, a couple thousand years ago from now, it'll be their turn to be eaten by aliens. Yeah. Yeah. If we're still around, yeah. Oh man, that would be a fuckfest. That would be a fuckfest. There's what's the guy? Stephen Greer. Stephen Greer has this thing. Speaking about aliens, this is your fault. Read economics. Actually, Stephanie, this is your fault. Stephen Greer, somewhat of a blowhard. He's in a UFO circle, and he makes this case that the United States government is trying to do a false flag UFO strike, meaning to give this impression that aliens are attacking Earth. Now, I'm just saying the fuckfest part, like this idea of a fuckfest. I don't know what human beings would do to protect themselves against a civilization that can move from light years. Like, if they have the capacity to get here, there is nothing we can do to defend ourselves. So, these movies where you have these human beings with these, chiseled jaws, and they have guns and they're shooting at ships. Fuck that. No. They've traveled intergalactic space. And our scientists are like, there's no way anybody can get here. These guys have traveled intergalactic space. They went from point A to point B. They're not doing that with kerosene. They're not doing that with gas. They're using something else. They're using some other principle of reality that we do not necessarily understand. There's no contest. There's no contest. There's no contest at all. We fucked. John Carpenter. I'm back and have my burger. I eat meat because I like it. I don't think it's wrong for cats or other animals to eat meat. I thought we called it the circle of life. Aren't we part of that circle? Oh, I like that. Yeah, I like that. I like that. I like that. Oh, that's a good argument. That's a good argument. All right, fair enough. That's a good argument. Oh, bastard. I like that argument. All right, the reason why I like this argument. Sometimes we as human beings act like we're not part of nature. Like, we have consciousness. Like, we're the only animal on this particular planet. Yes, those other animals have consciousness, but there's something different. Those things aren't making art. There is something different and distinct about us. So own it, in that sense. If we did not have consciousness, in the sense, we would not be around to ask that question of, hey, is it wrong to eat this thing? Does it make sense? Like, by virtue of having this kind of intellect of sorts, by looking at our environment and questioning, giving these things meaning as opposed to just acting and behaving, we ask the question, is it right to do this? Why is it right to do this? Why is it right to do this? And in a sense, we challenge this kind of thing, of this natural thing of, I'm going to eat this thing because this thing is there, to, should we eat this thing? What does it mean to eat this thing? As opposed to us recognizing that we are part of that circle of life. Meaning we live, we die, and all this other stuff. I like that argument. I like that argument. Now, mind you, it's still self-serving. So, yes, it's a self-serving argument. But yeah, I like it. I like it. I like the argument. Fair point. God created man in his image. What about animals or aliens? John Carpenter. By the way, I am 422. Rock on. Rock on. Rock on. Here's the thing. But we do question. Like, we're there. Like, the fact that we're there. So, yes, we're endowed with a particular burden in the sense of asking the question of, should we do this? Why is it okay that, I mean, why don't we kill human beings? Like, yes, we're in a circle of life. Fair enough. Why don't we eat other human beings? Aren't human beings in that circle of life? Shouldn't human beings be fair game also? Why don't we eat human beings? Like, what's your answer, John Carpenter? What's your answer, man? Why is it okay to eat animals but not other human beings? Now, look, granted, I know the answer to this is cultural. It's cultural choice. It's cultural choice. It shocks the conscience to eat another human being or kill another human being. But we are completely hypocritical in the sense of being willing to eat animals. Yes, we ask the questions. We're part of the circle of life. But we have the burden of asking the question of should it be as part of the circle of life? What does it mean to be a human being? And does that include eating animals? Are we just part of an animalistic nature, or are we more than our animal impulses? Hey, those questions are fair. Those questions are fair. Yes, we're part of the circle of life, but those questions are still fair. I'll eat anything if I'm hungry enough. Anybody would. Anybody would. Your morals would fall and quiver if you were starving and there was a hamburger in front of you. You would eat it. You would eat it. Your morals would go away. Your morals are purely there only in the standpoint of insofar as you have the things that you need to give you space enough to have those morals. They would wash away. You're not separate and distinct. You're not existing in a void. Yeah. Bob Ramirez, so what makes you think they don't? Who's they? Here in Australia, wildlife can coexist with cattle, though cows will try to stomp koalas if they can catch them. Oh, are they trying to stomp them because they're annoyed, or are they trying to stomp them and eat them? What's their reason? Rebel Cage Rattle LL Date. Earth Levy, survival. If our survival is threatened, you may resort to eating humans. Yes, I agree. Probably, yeah. Yeah. All of these things, like these cultural things, they're afforded to you based upon the space that your society to give you have those things. If your society is threatened, what do people do to ensure their survival is intact? What do they do? If you had more stress in your society, do those people behave better or worse? Of course, the more the resources are threatened, the worse people behave. It's just, people are not distinct, man. It's not like people going through stress and difficult times. It's not like, you know, these people have gone through the stress and now they're better people because they've gone through this stress and they've gone through this cauldron. No, sometimes those people behave in bad ways because of the situation to which they're presented with. They're not separate and distinct from their environment. We treat them as if they're perfectly individuals. They're not. What the fuck, cows hate koalas? I thought that too. I thought that too, man. Garno, I thought that too. It's like, why are cows stomping koalas? If you're in a crash, eat the vegans. You won't get sick. Yeah, do you really want to eat somebody who's been eating McDonald's for the past 20 years? Yeah, that's gross. That's gross. That's gross. Cannibalism is self-hatred. It says you have no respect for you and your own species. I feel the same way about murder. I would not be surprised if a tiger ate me, nor if I ate a bad tiger. Would you? That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. But I still think people would resort to cannibalism. Like, those value systems will wash away if your society didn't allow you to have those value systems. Meaning, if there was a crash, if things were bad enough, people were starving, I think your value system would wash away and they would radically change to contort to the society, to the resources you have at your disposal, the access. Baby, get in my belly. Independent outsider to Beath Enriquez. That Dharma party. That Dharma party? I don't know what you mean. Tronxy, never ride on a plane with me. Red economics, I don't know what that means. That's scary. My grandparents were prisoners of war on Eastern Front. They were skeletal people with blood around their mouths when my grandfather arrived. Cannibalism. Yeah. Stay awake, Stevie. I'm afraid. Yeah. Just to be safe. Donner party. If I had to eat somebody to avoid dying, then it's not a choice. You just do it. Yeah. Look, man, I think of this stuff systemically. I don't think... People have choices, don't get me wrong. But sometimes these things aren't choices. It's like a forced choice. Yes, you as a consciousness are along for the ride on this. But everything is pushing you in a particular direction, and you respond and you behave in that the way you're being pushed. Now, was it your choice? If you were being pushed into that behavior, be it be compelled by your body to do something because of lack, whether it be pushed from a societal standpoint, whatever it is, if you're being pushed, is it a choice? Your consciousness says yes. Your consciousness will make you feel guilty about it, even though it probably wasn't a choice. You're starving. What are you going to do? Dharma party means something else. Oh, Dharma. Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer. I'll eat dirt before I eat people. Whatever. Whatever. I don't believe that at all. Garno. Sometimes people have choices. Sometimes they don't. Yeah, that's true. That's... No shit, Garno. Sometimes it's X. Sometimes it's Y. Sometimes things are true. Sometimes things are false. Sometimes things are wet. Sometimes things are dry. More philosophy by Gardner. Jeffrey Dahmer, cannibalism, serial killer. Yes, I know. Ew, tasted like disappointment in mothballs. I don't know what that means. Bermaste Tommaso. Most likely I'd kill myself before I eat someone. You're saying that at a distance. That's all. I'm saying that at a distance. Just be aware. People aren't controlled by conscious thought. Agreed. I agree. No, I agree. Your consciousness is along for the ride, and it's egocentric enough to believe that it is. And your society tells you that it is. So both of those things are true. In a different society where you kind of was taught those things and how you interact with the world itself and all these other things, you would have a different worldview. You would necessarily take these things as purely individualistic choices. Yeah. The movie Alive. They ate who they saw as less human. Robert Pouquet Ray. Cockroaches can live 2 weeks on sticky glue on the back of postage stamp. Why do you know that? Oh, why do you know that? Stephanie, why do you know that? Kalita, yes. Independent outside Jamal, you missed it. Stevie eating Joe Manchin for survival. At least he'd be good for something. Oh man, they're gonna say the left is being boisterous because people were talking about eating Joe Manchin. That's awesome. And then I like the last quirk. At least he would be good for something. Oh, that's brutal. That's brutal. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Adam Sinclair was modern day Donner Party. If you think people will eat other people rather than starve, why do so many people starve to death instead of eating each other? People are different. People have different stressors. People are different. People are different. So yeah, some people do. Look, you can make this case when protesting war. Some people set themselves on fire. Literally douse themselves in gasoline and set themselves on fire. Somebody did it in front of Robert McNamara's office. Well, that's fucking amazing. Understand what's going to take place. You're going to burn to death. You know it's going to hurt. You know it's going to be excruciating pain. More pain than any person should ever bear. It's going to be epic and painful. And you decide that you're going to do it because something else matters to you more than all of that. You're making that much of a statement. That's fucking amazing. Like, I can't process that thought process. Like, what it takes to get a person in this reality, meaning in your particular reality, to say, I am going to douse myself in gasoline and I'm going to set myself on fire and I'm going to make a statement. People are different. People are different. They're arranged in different ways to some degree. But their range of difference is a degree. That's not necessarily this kind of human behavior has ranges. So yeah, you're going to have some people who act in ways that are at the other end of the spectrum. But that being said, within those ranges, you're still pushed in certain directions. You're not separate and distinct. There's no situation where you're separate and distinct from the environment to which you exist in. You don't exist in a void. There's no situation where you as a human being is ever going to be somewhere in a void. There's going to be things around you that are going to be acting on you. Dax Jacobson, you hope you die from burns quickly. You don't want to live with that. No, you don't. And usually they don't live with that. The self-emollient thing, I think, with the guy in China protesting. Yeah, set himself on fire. It's mind-blowing that people would do that. Strange you mentioned self-immolation. I was typing about it when you mentioned it. Great minds think alike. Like a bunch of CEOs in a room and they'd be eating each other in 3 days or so. Hunger is cruel and unusual punishment for such them. Yeah, they eat each other alive. They do it now already. Yeah, they eat each other alive now. Starving people in civilizations tend to resort to violence to get money for food and die from that. Or they're victims of it. Yeah. This conversation taught me to keep Jimmy Johns on speed dial. Wow, that is creepy. That is so creepy. That's so creepy. That is immensely creepy. John Carpenter. How can you claim personal responsibility for eating meat and deny it with regards to cannibalism? How can you claim personal responsibility? Because, no. We're not talking about an open system. The systems we're talking about are different. So the people are talking about cannibalism in a system where there's starvation, there's deprivation, you're going hungry, you're starving to death. Everything in you is compelling you to do this particular thing. It takes a massive amount of conscious effort and thought not to do it. How am I going to feed my family? How am I going to make sure this thing? All of these things are pushing you in a particular direction. We're not talking about, you know, there's steak and chicken and all these other things on the menu and you just decide to eat a person. No, that's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're talking about. This conversation before bedtime, I am not sure this was the wisest thing for me to do. I do not know how we ended up here. Buddhist monks did this in protest to beat the Enriquez. Yeah, set themselves on fire. Self-immolation. It's hard to, you know, it's hard to fathom that. It's hard to fathom that. Dax Jacobson, low energy when I've been without food for a long time. Whatever I killed, yeah, kind of slow. Rattle that cage, wakes it up. Independent outsider. Yeah, man, that's intense. And yeah, this conversation has gone into a very weird direction. Yeah, very weird direction. Setting people on fire and eating people and the freedom of a forced choice. Yeah, freedom of forced choice. That's exactly. In Papua New Guinea, the cannibals used to call a certain kind of meat long pig. Oh, yeah. Mark P. Yeah. Long pig, yeah. Again, these things are cultural. These things are purely cultural. There is no reality to it. You can have all sorts of configurations to your society in which you can have a configuration where people eat meat and they would think it was perfectly natural to eat human beings. These things are cultural. Don't get caught and attached. Don't get caught in the reality of it. There's not reality to it. Funny, in most of the world, meat is a rarity. It's okay for people in poor countries to eat meat when available. I mean, look, you're going to eat anything that's in front of you if you're going starving. Let's agree to that part. Like, nobody's going to have this superhuman integrity if there's a hamburger there. There's like, no, I don't believe in eating meat. No, they're going to eat the hamburger. They're starving. If food is in scarcity, you're going to eat whatever is available. Just the way it is. You're a human being. We're making this argument about, I keep making this point about space. Having space to have your integrity in that sense, or space to have your own ideals. That's all. Independent outsider. Choices to the left turn to burning and cannibalism. Next on Washington Post. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know, right? David Weigel, the porn star guy. Yeah, that mustachio guy himself. Jamal, cut your finger off, cook it, live stream. You'll get like 1 million views. Oh, man, it's not worth it, dude. It's not worth it. Dave Weasel is collecting sound bites from this live stream as we speak to smear the... right. Right. Yeah, what he's going to... Oh, what did he say? How did he say? The bitter enders. The bitter enders. That's what we are. The bitter enders. I'm jealous of the phrase. I like the turn of the word. I like it. I like the turn of the word. I like it. Bitter enders. It's fucked up. Art, man. Whatever you want to call it. That is art. That is art. Like, there is no way for you to hit what he's trying to get at directly. Like, there's no way for him to actually articulate exactly what he is trying to say if he was trying to say it in a blunt and direct way. Make it saying the turn of the phrase, bitter enders, gets across what he wants to say. There's a meta narrative of what he wants to say that's kind of this kind of snarky bitterness associated that goes beyond just the words themselves. Bitter enders, that's art. That's art. He's getting across a particular perspective, resoundingly so, that could not necessarily be articulated in just written word. I love it. It's fucked up, but I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. Bitter enders. Yeah. Rebel Cage Rather, I still love you, brother, even if I might have nightmares tonight. I'm sorry. He's been on YouTube for 5 hours a day. Dax Jacobson. I was on what's his name show. DR Gnome. We are bitter and hateful children because we hate Hillary Clinton. Isaiah Stewart, haven't been paying attention. Good things to talk about. Red economics. Fighting for the people till the bitter end. Guilty as charged. Oh, I love that. She's like putting her stake in the ground. I am guilty as charged. I will hold the shape unapologetically. Bitter enders sound like a microbrew. It does, don't it? Yeah, it does. That should be a microbrew. We should just sell it at cash. Have our own super PAC. Fighting for the people to the bitter end. Why can't we just grow up and support the DNC? I'm joining Wolfpack. Oh, that's brutal. Jab at TYT. Jab at TYT. RCR, just watch my paranoid journalist impersonation on my channel again. Oh, Wrangle land here in Australia looks like bushland because it largely is farmland, is ethnogenocide in my honest opinion. That's interesting. Oh wow, dude, yeah, you're further to the left than I am on this one. Farmland is ethnogenocide. How do you propose that we get food? Now, I could say, look, in any scenario, don't you have to clear out land in some degree? Like, maybe I'm missing something. Rebel Cage Rattler, LOL, Dave, that will be my go-to video if I ever feel too afraid to go to sleep. I love it. Love it. Ethnogenocide. Yeah, I need you to explain. I need more information, Mark. You've intrigued me on this one. To Dave Weigel, meet the heel of my boot. How's that for a bitter end? How's that for a bitter end? Captain and Cone, wow, up late for a live show. Yeah, I wanted to chill out. I had a 4-hour convo with real progressives. And at that point, I wanted to just have a 420 talk with my audience. Chill out. Farmland does ruin ecodiversity. Oh, that's true. And, you know, particularly since they've been using a lot of that farmland for, like, sugar or corn. Like, they've been talking about, like, and mind you, think about if they're talking about using farmland to grow energy. Okay, if you're growing energy with that farmland, what about food? What about food? Not to mention biodiversity, where you have all these this monocrops and all this other stuff. Yeah, I agree. I agree. This is just the way we do things, man. It's not necessarily for the best. It's for profit. Video about food for a moment. Fluoride and TCE contamination of our groundwater. Will the interview go up on YouTube at some point? Yeah, this will. Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. I'll ask him about it. Catherine Combe. But nobody's gonna watch that thing for 4 hours. That thing was, yeah. It was. Look, I love talking to him. So it just kind of went on his own steam. Guy's a PhD in political science. I love those conversations. Love it. Mark P and desserts were created over working the land with their sheep and their goats. Bob Brumer. So Facebook is the devil's playground. Ugh. In '95, I had a website called Vegetable Equality and Liberation. I got death threats, and not many used the internet back then. Jesus Christ, you were pissing people off in the 90s. Kaplan, this is the middle of the day too. Oh yeah, in other places. Remember when people were upset about fluoride? Now it's lead, mercury, TCE, and Teflon. Oh wow, yeah. It was an epic stream. Oh, Robert Pouquet. Oh, you saw it. Yeah, that thing went on for a long time. We still ended up with like 40 people at the end of the 4 hours. Yeah. Yeah. It was good. It was a good conversation. I listened to a decent amount of it. Yeah, it was a good combo. It was a good combo. The round earthers. I like the bitter enders, man. I love it. I love it. It sounds like a... Have you seen Warriors? It's like, Warriors, come out to play. Have you seen that one? That show, my wife told me about it. I had never seen it. I fell in love with that movie. That movie was fucking awesome. It was so fucking awesome. They would go from neighborhood to neighborhood to neighborhood. And each neighborhood had their own thing. It's like, you know, you had some guys who were clowns. You had some guys who were the kind of weaklings of the bunch. You had some guys who had like these paints, you know, painted their bodies in all these particular configurations. Each neighborhood had its own separate and distinct thing, as if they were going to their own separate and distinct universe. And because they thought this gang of guys killed somebody that was important, all of these gangs, there was a hit job out on them. So they needed to get back to their neighborhood, meaning they had to travel through all of these neighborhoods to get back to their neighborhood. And all of these guys were out for their heads. Warriors. They were being set up. They didn't do it. They were being set up. And they traveled from one neighborhood to the next. Each neighborhood distinctly lit different than the other. I have this image in my head of us in our neighborhood. The bitter enders. The bitter enders. Oh, I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. I totally love it. Responded to your ethnogenocide question further up. Let's see. Yeah, I love it. Bitter enders. Bitter enders. Death threats. Cows raised staff safaris because all the wildlife is still there. What we do at farming. Oh, I see what you mean. You're essentially destroying the land for your farmland, in which case you're crowding out animals and everything else, destroying their habitat. I understand. I understand. Yeah, I understand. It's depressing. I gotta be honest. look, the bitter enders thing I love. I think that's more funny. I think people need to give that more credit. I think they need to give that more credit. Warriors was based on some ancient Greek story. I know, but it was awesome. It was awesome. Should have seen it when it came out. It was awesome. It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. Love that movie. There is a reunion Warriors video. Cyrus talking about the power of unifying. Just listen to your video on Sanders coming out and question the party. It was encouraging. It's like he's asking the Democratic Party if they're going to change or be forced to split. Yes. Yes. Have you ever tried chocolate chip bacon cookies, Jamal? They're a really good mix of salty and sweet. I've tried bacon and no. I'm simple with my food choices. Like, I'm immensely choicy. I'm extremely choicy. Meaning I'm extremely choicy. When we used to go out camping, they used to say, make sure you send that boy with some food, because I don't know what he likes. I don't know what he likes. He's too choicy. Yeah, I love that movie, man. I love that movie. I have this idea in my head about us, the bitter enders. They're traveling through our neighborhood, and we're the bitter enders. We're the bitter enders. We're fighting for the last thing of, yes, we want these things. Yes, we believe people matter more than profits. Yes, we believe you cheated us. Yes, we don't want to move forward until you deal with the fact that you cheated us. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Put my stake in the ground. I hold my shape. Yeah. I played Warriors video. And look, it held up, man. That video held up magnificently well. Like, to this day, that thing holds up really well. So if people quit eating cows and chickens, what do farms do with all of them? Well, some of these things are practical decisions, I know. But that's like saying, well, hey, if we stop giving the rich all of this money, what are we going to do? Like, you can make that argument about anything. If we stop doing X, what are we going to do? That argument, it's like you're using the existence of something to justify itself. It doesn't work that way. It's like, if we stop locking up stoners, what is the DA going to do? Come on, you can't structure an argument in that way. Your first t-shirt merch idea, the bitter enders. Oh, I love it, I love it, I love it. The bitter enders. The bitter enders. Dave Weigel is going to sue me for somebody said fucking amazing as another one. Fucking amazing. Bitter enders, I love it. Jamal, taste yourself and let us know what type of meat you taste like. Gotta do the prep work ahead of time just in case there's a sudden famine. Oh man, I would hope that you guys would follow me and we'd be a beacon for truth and justice in a world of shit and piss. Yes, that's epic. That's epic. I don't know what it means, but it's epic. Chocolate and chili peppers. You're way too optimistic. Think of poor lives in prison guards. If we don't lock up all those black people, what are we going to do? What are the prison guards going to do if we don't lock up stoners? What are we going to do? Like, it's like, come on, an argument. You can't argue that way. You can't argue that way. Independent officer, ferociously me, another t-shirt. Oh, right. Yeah, I like to use the term ferocious. Remember when you were going to call these segments black box? It turns out, as the intel agency calls black cube, you are a spy, sir. I was going to call it black box because I thought dealing with opaque topics. Like, you've heard me make this argument before. There may be a reality out there, but you never touch it. Who the fuck knows what's out there? I mean, yes, you have this perception of the world, but even in the perception of the world, even when something actually takes place, Donald Trump launches a weapon and so forth, did it really kill those people? How many people did he kill? Did he launch it at all? The further something gets away from you, the more ambiguous and more hazy those things get. You're awash in narratives. What's true? Who the fuck knows? Now, there are certain things that you say are true. For instance, I have a wall right here. I don't have the capacity to walk through that wall. So regardless of what I want to say, if it doesn't comport with the reality, then you're lying. But within the things that are true, you're awash ambiguity. There's no win. Like, it's like, you can have all these opinions, you have 5 different opinions, all of those opinions are true. How do you make headway? You're watching opinions. All this stuff is ambiguous. Jamal would be a shitty spy. He talks too much. Yeah, I would be a bad spy. I thought because these things are ambiguous, because there's no way to know, I thought a show called Black Box would be awesome to pry into that stuff. It's playing around with ideas in a sense. But then I realized my show is just me. Like this show, all intents and purposes, it's just me. That's all it is. The reason I can do these segments, the reason it's like, holy shit, this guy was going for X number of hours. It's just me. Like there's no, I don't need to put on airs. This is how I am as a natural bearing. This is just who I am as a natural being. So I enjoy doing it. So because you enjoy doing it, you just do it. This is like if somebody gave you $1,000. Here, I need you to be at this location for $1,000. I will be at that location to get that $1,000. I enjoy doing it. I didn't need to make another show called Black Box. Ultimately, this was all I needed. There would be a certain audience that was like, oh, I love this. There would be a certain audience that says, what the fuck is he talking about? Move on. I didn't need to split the channel in that way. Black Box was a good name. I like the name. I do like the name. He blabs too much about coupons. Yeah, you're the one who was trying to get one to Julian Assange. Don't think I forgot about that one. Don't think I forgot about that one. 2021 announcing the commencement of annual purge sanctioned by President Hillary Clinton. Oh man, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. Stylized names. I understand the decision to avoid artifice stylized names. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I didn't look at it. You're looking at it a little bit more intellectual than I was. Yeah, you might have been. Yeah, you might be looking at more of a higher level than I was. I literally just looked at it as, this is just me. I don't need to split it. There'll be people who get it. There'll be people who don't. Ultimately, I don't need to put on airs. If I need to put on airs, I've done something wrong. People will love me or hate me based upon how I am. Meaning, it includes all these things. There will be days where I'm talking about aliens. There will be days I'm talking about alien abductions. There will be days I'm talking about politics. There will be days I'm having YouTube channel battles and geeking out over Star Trek wars. All sorts of stuff. It's just me. It's just me. JT, I subscribe to you because I like that you're trying to be honest about yourself. Doesn't matter how many people watch you as long as you're true to yourself. John Carpenter, fucking A. Agreed. Agreed, agreed. Mark P. My brother has a scar on his leg because he got ripped by a wild cell. Oh, wow. Living the life in Australia, man. Exactly what I meant. He, and again, no filter, Turbo Spy. Yeah, I'd be Turbo Spy. Actually, no, I'd be an awesome spy. I'd be an awesome spy. Because I think I'd be able... Yeah, I'd be an awesome spy. I don't need your pessimism, man. I'd be an awesome... I don't need your pessimism. I'm not going to agree with your pessimism. I'd be an awesome fucking spy. Day's topic, eating humans, I know. Yeah, trucks and refuge, I know. I know, that's rough. I don't know how we got here. I honestly don't know how we got there. Independent outsider. That's not gangster, right, Lawrence? Why do you think you'd be the tastiest human if you had to... Oh, who do you think would be the tastiest human if you had to eat a human? There's no good answer to that question. Yeah, there's no answer to that question. There's no answer. There's no good answer. Whoever you answer, the question becomes, well, wait a minute. Why do you think that person would taste good? Why do you think the person would taste good? In the real world, you have a decent-sized audience. Imagine 30 to 100 people standing around hours while you talk. Yeah. Chess player would trick them as he does the spy thing. I would imagine if you're going to be a spy, keep it simple. If it gets too complex, you're playing a game that you may lose. Yeah, I don't want to play that game. Like, I think I'd be an awesome spy. I'm going to be optimistic. I tend to be flamboyantly optimistic. Sometimes I could be extraordinarily cynical at the same time. It's weird. It's weird. But I'm going to be optimistic and say I will be an awesome fucking spy. Speaking of eating their own Democrats. Oh, here we are. Here we are. Here we are. Speaking of eating their own. I railed at Bernie Sanders the other day. One of the guy in Bloggers for Bernie. He was like, yeah, dude, this is in the wrong section. You're ragging on Bernie Sanders. The thing I kind of made this point of, if they ask you the question of where you cheated, yes, you can dodge. And it was a political dodge. He says, you know, everybody knows blah, 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 in Donna Brazil's mind. And yes, Yeah, it was in Donna Brazil's mind, but Donna Brazil was the chair of the DNC. And if it was in her mind and she's the chair of the DNC, I'm pretty sure she knows what the fuck is in her mind. I think that woman is competent enough to understand what it means for something to be rigged. Now, Donna Brazil coming out later and impeaching herself is embarrassing and shameful. Whoever called her to do that. Oh, it's the indignity. The indignity of having to impugn your own testimony. This long political piece where you're going into minute detail about how they were cheating. WikiLeaks releases a thing where you can see the contract itself, and you can see that there's a clear distinction between the contract Sanders got and the contract Hillary Clinton got. Not to mention they had money, influence throughout the party apparatus. Donna Brazil lays this out in painstaking detail. And she comes out and impugns her own testimony. And this woman who screamed that it was rigged had to turn around and explain why all of a sudden that when she said rigged, she did mean rigged. Oh, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing what politicians do. The level of shame that these people have. I don't understand how they do it. How do they do it? How do they do this? This seems superhuman to me. If it was me, my spine would have collapsed under the stress. How do they do it? That's a talent unto itself. It's a superpower unto itself. It should be an Olympic sport. It's amazing to watch. It's embarrassing. The overwhelming majority of the public sees the Democratic Party as having cheated Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders saying, well, in Donna Brazil's mind. Now, you can tact from that, saying, we need radical transparency in the Democratic Party, whether they cheated or not. We need to move forward. And what that means is people need to be able to trust the DNC. Now, I rail that he should have said that. Somebody sent to my thing. I don't know if somebody did it. I'm just saying. And he came out saying the exact same thing. We need radical transparency. Like literally almost verbatim. Radical transparency. We need to get rid of these superdelegates, etc., etc., etc. If people, if the Democrat Party want to show people that they can be trustworthy, then they need to do these things. He railed. He railed. Peter fucking Dow was on Twitter. How dare he? How dare he tell us what we should be doing? How dare he? He was gritting his teeth. I imagine him gritting his teeth. I just do. I imagine a lot of people grating their teeth. And I imagine a lot of people with the Batman voice. That's why I use the Batman voice. Yeah. So, I'm like, yes. I'm like, yes. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. Attack the system. You were cheated. You fucking cheated. Understand the gravity of that statement. They keep making as if it's this minor thing. You live in a representative government. At least that's what you're told. You're continuously told. This is a representative government. This is a representative government. You elect people who are supposed to represent your interests, who go to Washington, who fight on your behalf, and blah, 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 blah. They have this superhuman integrity, and they believe in things, and they espouse particular positions, and when the public needs something done, they go and do those things because they're representing the public. Certainly, this is a farce. This is not politics. This is not the way politics functions in the real world. Now, yeah, this is a fucking farce. But if that's the farce, then I have nothing but to hold you by the farce. Meaning, if you're saying this is a representative government and you cheat one of the guys, then it's not a representative government. If one person has that much control over the political apparatus, then that person was chosen. That person wasn't selected by the audience or the public. That is not control. That is not choosing your representative leader. That is a big fucking deal. That is a big fucking deal. And this idea that they want to just move past it as if nothing happens. No, no. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Do you have a representative government or not? That's a yes or no. That's a yes or no. Now, if he's going to challenge that, he's going to attack that, particularly if he's talking about running again in 2020, which I strongly suspect he is. And I am predicting that there will be a war in 2020. This is a winter's coming moment. This is an interregnum. Things are up for grabs. Now, Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party are cannibalizing each other. In the same way that Obama ran a parallel operation with the DNC and starved the beast, starved the DNC of money, Hillary Clinton is doing the same thing. It's fucking amazing. They're doing the exact same thing. And so is Sanders. Our revolution is the tip of the spear. And they've been putting people in offices, meaning they've shown that they can win. Whatever the Green Party wants to say, these guys have shown that they can win. They've put a shitload of people in office. Hold those people accountable, yes. But certainly those are wins. That's a group that was spearheaded by Sanders himself. So, winter's coming. Yeah, I think winter's coming. I think the people, look, people take issue with Justice Democrats. One thing I think, for sure though, is that they are to the left of what's there now. Meaning, if Joe Manchin is going to be taken out by a Justice Democrat, then I am going to give my support to the Justice Democrat that takes Joe Manchin out of his goddamn seat. I can't think of a name. Paula Swearengin. I like Paula Swearengin. I'm using her as an example. You vote for people who represent your interests. And certainly these people are further to the left. Brand new Congress, Justice Democrats, our revolution. All of these people are further to the left. Whether you think it's good or not, whether you think it's astroturf or not, these people are further to the left. These people have been gathering their resources. Somewhat different than the resources the Clinton campaign has been gathering in regards to their super PACs and everything else. Now, who wins that? 2018, 2020, these people are in a brawl for leadership, meaning who's going to win. If you have a Democratic candidate that's to the left, take that slot. That person chooses the DNC. That person remakes the DNC in their image. And in the same way Bill Clinton took over and third-wave Democrats destroyed the New Deal. Well, it was on his way out since Carter, but definitely put a stake in it. You would have a sea change. You'd have a sea change. Jeremy Corbyn is trying to do the same thing abroad. Jeremy Corbyn, they attacked him in the same ways that they were attacking Sanders. Oh, this guy's loony. This guy is fringe. This guy's going to put his trillions of dollars in debt. It's going to be sad O'Brien. This guy is comical. There's no way you could take this guy seriously. This guy needs to put on a proper suit. They said everything. They called this guy everything but a child of God. You know what he did? He won. You know what shuts people up? Winning. He won. The Blairites shut the fuck up. They tried to take him out that slot twice and they failed both times. And when that election came and Theresa May was trying to break labor, it was supposed to be the war to end labor, she herself was broken. I'm saying the same thing can happen here. You're going to have a war in 2020. That's what I think. That's what I honestly think. I think these sides are gearing up for something traumatic. And I think it's going to be hashed out in 2020. Will the neocons in the party, will they be able to put down the new left? That's the question. Our revolution and groups like that are going to be clawing and scratching at them, though. I would say that. So, yeah, talking about who's cannibalizing themselves, yes. But look, let's be honest. If Democrats succeeded in what they were doing, meaning the new left or the Clintonites, if they succeeded in their task, then they would still have been persistent. Meaning the chaos that you've had in the Democratic Party is evidence of failure. This is evidence of failure. It's not like you have these groups spring up out of a void for no reason. If everything was going just hunky-dory and fucking awesome, you wouldn't have these groups springing up trying to take over the party. Or trying to create a third party in essence. All of these movements are evidence of failure of the center. You need something new. I call it the new left. Reason. I call it the real left. The correct way to state it is that their stated positions are further to the left. They talk the talk, and at least a degree. Nina often doesn't walk the walk. She plays the loyalty games. Okay, fair criticism. Don had conscience for 5 minutes. Smokescreen Dave, if they don't have a tough enough vajay to stand up against the establishment, their vagina isn't tough enough? Is that what you said? Their vagina... I love my audience. I love my audience. Be unapologetically woman. God damn it. I love it. Yeah, Rebel Cage Rattler. Fucking A. Be unapologetically a woman. I love it. When Wonder Woman took audience, one of the main things I loved about Wonder Woman. Yes, I've taken this little comic book thing. One of the main things I loved about Wonder Woman is she was a woman. She was unapologetically a woman. I'm not trying to be tough. I'm not trying to be a badass. I am sensitive and I am a goddamn dandelion. I would fuck you up because, yes, I am a goddess and I am a woman. And I am an animal in a sense. But I am a woman. I am unapologetically so. I love that. I love that. There was this level of tenderness and sensitivity associated with the ability to kick ass when necessary. I loved it. You don't get that in real life. Like, you get this thing of trying to impress or trying to be more masculine, because I guess this is this idea that masculine in our society, so the way our society arranges itself. I love fighting back against the narrative. It had nothing to do with being SJW or anything else. I'm just unapologetically who I am. Guys say they don't have the stones or they don't have the balls. I am a female. I don't have stones, but I still have that thing, that gumption in me. Yeah, I love that, man. I love that. Fucking A. Fucking A. I love it. Absolutely love it. Norms 1. Mark P. Exactly what I noticed. A bit disconcerting and unexpected and unwanted and sudden. Oh, I don't know what you guys are talking about. The Caco corporatists are going to demand Clinton pay them back those billions for running in 2020 by running Michelle Obama. They wanted the promised sweetheart deals. She's their bitch losers. No way. Michelle Obama's not running. No way. No way. No way. I don't believe it. That's one of those things I believe when she gets in the race. Jamal wants Wonder Woman to tie him up and kick the shit out of him. It's beyond obvious. If I wasn't married, maybe. If I wasn't married, maybe. I just heard Jamal pun's desk and say he's a woman. Suspect I missed something. I did not say I'm a woman. I was talking about Wonder Woman. And to dominate control Saudi Arabia. Streaming lag. Yeah, it's lagging. It's lagging. It's coming back. It's coming back. It's coming back. Give it a moment. It's coming back. Come on. Rebel Cage Rider. I'm not able to talk with another person's thought of mine, nor feel with another person's emotions. I am me unapologetically for sure. That's how you should be. Come on. It says it's green. It says it's green. Is anybody seeing me? Is anybody seeing it? Anybody seeing it? Anybody seeing it? War and control was what seemed to be hyper-focusing on. Come on. There we are. It was lagging. Do you get Wi-Fi as part of your rent? If so, nah, I don't. I do not. We pay for this expensive-ass Wi-Fi. I'd love to see Shama Sawant and a Jubarak ticket unite bitter enders. Oh, unite bitter enders. Here's the thing. If a lefty is going to run, let me say it this way. I'm getting shot. I understand that there are ill feelings about Sanders among some of us. There's some things that he does that you would hear me bitch and moan about and rant. Because ultimately I consider Sanders to be a politician and just a human being. And I think he responds to forces like other human beings respond to things. I think he has a particular context. And I think within his particular context, he's doing what he believes to play the game, to get the throne, in that sense. With the idea that I have an opportunity to fundamentally change the way this party is done. Meaning, what accounts for the hegemonic view of the left in this country changes. That's a big fucking deal. Like, it's hard to get across how big of a deal that is. So, regardless of how this particular sandbox views Sanders, the large majority of the population love the guy. They love him. They absolutely love him. They don't see him in the way that you particularly see him. You see him from this perspective of betrayal. You looked at, oh my God, Obama was a failure and betrayal. Sanders played this game and he let us down. Everybody is letting us down. But everybody doesn't see it that way. Everyone doesn't see it that way. Context. And what can be accomplished. And yes, I think there's an opportunity for big fucking changes and a change in the hegemonic view of things. When Democrats move further to the right, you understand that what a Democrat is today is essentially what Ronald Reagan was back in the 80s. People were terrified of Ronald Reagan. They thought he was too far to the right. Apparently, the people are fucking okay with Democrats being the exact same way. Socially liberal, of course, but same thing. When Democrats moved to the right in that way, and they took in the position of Ronald Reagan per se, what do you think Republicans did? Did Republicans say, hey, we just agree now. The world is great. We can shake hands and we just pass one bill after the next. No. They move further to the right. Thank you for agreeing with us. We're going to keep a political distance between you. And so yes, if you're going to agree with us on this, we want more. How much do you want? More. We just want more. What's enough? There is nothing that's enough. We will continually take more. This is an existential struggle that's never going anywhere. We want more. And Democratic Party just slid further and further to the right. There is no such thing as agreement in this sense. There's always going to be political space that these guys keep between us. The further Democrats move to the right, the further you enshrine this idea of this hegemonic view of what it means to be the left. That needs to be broken. That's all I'm saying. Having somebody who's a lefty breaks it. He completely breaks it. I honestly believe that Sanders looks at this as, I need to use this platform in order to change what is considered the left. Him standing there outside of the party itself calls him into question. People asking this thing, what do you stand for? I know what this guy stands for. Every time he opens his mouth, he's telling me what he stands for. What do you stand for? He's unapologetic. What do you stand for? If this guy's the left, what the fuck are you? What are you? We know what he is. He tells us what he is. Man calls himself a socialist. Just a classic Democrat. Calls himself a socialist. What are you? You can understand that's a difficult question for a party that's for the most part been considered the left, the definitive left in this country. He's a problem for them. He's a question for them. Whether he opened his mouth or not, he's a question. The longer that he stays into the limelight, and if it's every time you look up, you see Sanders debating Ted Cruz, Sanders debating this Republican, Sanders bitching about that, Sanders walking in a work line, Sanders, 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 Sanders. Now, you may call him a sheepdog. The shenanigans that took place with all of those Democrats in the party before, Sanders may consider, look, they're going to cheat. I need to do what I need to do to get these people in because I am going to run on a similar platform and I believe I can win it. And I would argue it is a fundamentally different race with a Bernie Sanders who's running thinking, I have no chance to win this and I just want to push the conversation to the left. But I don't want to do anything to make Hillary Clinton lose. Two, this is my turn. This is my turn. It will be a fight, but this is my turn. What am I missing? What am I missing? I think those things are fundamentally different. I think 2020 is a war. And I think this is gather your pitchforks. Gather the first thing that you can grab onto. Grab it and run to your local post office. I don't mean do it. I don't mean literally. I mean literally. I'm throwing in the towel and donating to Justice Democrats. They don't know what. Oh, he's wrong. He's such a smart asshole. He's such a smart asshole. God, no. Oh, that's funny. Litmus test. Bernie wins Democratic primary. Yes. Tomoso Young. Yes. 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 That's the only person who's getting my support, to be honest. That's the only person. And look, I have a question. I don't know if anybody is still here at this point. Nina Turner retweeted me. Nina Turner retweeted me. Now, she retweeted my tweet on, what was the thing called? I did one on the New People's Party. The People's Party launch. And Nina Turner retweeted me. And somebody said, hey, you know Nina. I was like, really? No way. He's like, yeah. And I tell my wife, I said, hey, guess what? Nina Turner retweeted me. We were at dinner. And she's like, she subverts me right off the bat. She's a bit snarky ass, so she subverts me. She's like, does Nina Turner do all her tweets, or does she have a press agent? It's like, what do you mean, does she have a press agent? Like, right off the bat, and you know, my first thought was, oh, you're trying to say Nina Turner didn't do it. Oh, you asshole. You asshole. And then she says, well, I'm not saying she didn't send your tweet off. No, but you've just opened up the possibility that she didn't send that tweet. That somebody else, a press agent, not her sitting at the thing and pressing the button herself. You bastard. Subverting my tweet. Now, here's the thing, though. I have a question for Nina Turner. She's not going to answer this question, but I have a question for Nina Turner that I would love for her to answer. If you're tweeting my thing out, and you're tweeting out the thing for third party, People's Party, your organization, Our Revolution, has essentially put out candidates. You guys have been immensely successful in a very short time. God bless. God bless. Good work. Is your organization willing to go a third way? Or is this organization, for the most part, flirting with a third way in order to scare the hell out of Democrats? Which one is it? Is there a legitimacy to it, or is this politics? Meaning, she's with our revolution. For the time being, these guys have been running Democratic candidates for the most part. She certainly understands that the Democratic National Committee is in her sandbox, and that they exist in a certain reality space, if that makes sense. It's like they agree on the world in a particular way because they're fighting for similar ends. If they know that she's putting out these feelers of, hey, look at this information about a third party. Hey, if Democrats aren't living up to what they're supposed to be doing, maybe we need to talk about a third way. If she's consistently doing this, is she doing this because it has teeth, meaning her organization is willing to say, we say no to this, we're doing something different? Or is it a threat? Because I make the point that if the threat doesn't have teeth, at some point, you will be pushed to call their bluff. Will you call their bluff? Or are you going to openly just... I guess what I'm saying is, do you get to the point where you're like, this party is a corporatist party. This party is for the rich. We need something that's unapologetically for workers. This is not a big tent. We don't want a big tent. We want to be very specific to this thing of the 99%. Now, the reason I say this is, if you have two parties that's essentially function for the top 1%, then hey, the 99% needs its own party. Workers need their own party. Somebody who functions in our interests. If she's continuously putting out this thing of third party thing, does it have teeth? Now, unions have come out saying, maybe we need a third party. Maybe we need a third party. Unions have come out saying it. Maybe we need to represent people other than Democrats. I say, hallelujah. I say, it's about goddamn time. I say, you have withered on the vine because you were terrified of Republicans. Withered on the vine. You bask in their apathy as if it was love, just because in comparison, the other guys were so much worse. The other guys were psychotic towards you. So you allowed the Democrats to get away with all sorts of stuff that stuck knives in you, that stuck stakes in you, that did very bad things to you. And by you, I mean labor. They were trying to pass the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Talk about putting a stake in your heart. That was Democrat. That was the team you supported. Will you come to your senses? Will you come to your senses? Now, they've put out feelers saying a new party. Fair enough. About goddamn time. What I would want would be for Nina Turner and what's his name? Nick Brana, that union who's talking about her third party, to talk behind the scenes. I would like those people to also have a conversation with Bernie Sanders behind the scenes. I would like all those people to be talking in secret and in private and coming up with decisions, plans that are coordinated and not necessarily these separate and distinct entities. And yes, including Justice Democrats, I would like for those people to talk behind the scenes. Yes. Bring me into the conversation, but talk behind the scenes. What I'm saying is, this stuff should be coordinated. Organize the left. Organize the left. When you have like oil cartels, you have these little factions for oil and all this other stuff, and those things come together, come up with a cartel. Yeah, organize the left. You have influence, you have cash, you have capital, you have name recognition. Organize the left. Have your war in 2020. The Green needs a stronger national structure and consistency. Yes, agreed. Agreed. Absolutely agree. JT must be amped up on caffeine or something. No, I just like the conversation. Surprise, it doesn't have teeth. DNC has the power of cash and law on its side. Revolution is nothing. Look at the power dynamic. Look at Nina's party games. Pretty obvious what's going on here. Stein Rosenstein, bruh. If Hillary runs again, this nation is fucked. No, that would be comedy. That would be comedy. Democrats still treat you like shit, but we're slightly better in the alternative. Yeah. Come on, guys. Come on. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. I had a conversation with my mom this morning. And look, I know you guys will probably agree with me on this. But it's the argument that I have with people who are in the camp for Democrats, but at the same time are wayward leftists. In the same way that we were talking about eating animals. And it's like, I agree with that woman on Real Progressives when she talks about eating animals and animal safety. So I feel a particular way about myself when I eat those animals. I agree with the argument. So I'm stuck with the repercussions of doing something that goes against my own, my a breaking consistency. Well, I'm talking about the leftists who agree with the argument and yet vote Democrat, continuously vote Democrat because they're terrified. They're terrified of the other. I had a conversation with my mom this morning talking about the Virginia elections. And she says, I didn't get a chance to talk to you, and what do you thought about the elections? And I said, I voted for the Libertarian candidate. And I said, that's a non-choice. That guy, the Republican, was a religious maniac. Look, Virginia has a history of voting for religious maniacs in regards to Republicans. The guy who was there before ended up getting locked up for campaign corruption. He was taking a bunch of money and watches and trips and all this other stuff. McDonald signed a law allowing transvaginal ultrasounds forced by state. These small government conservatives passing legislation to force the state, forcing doctors to put a rod in women's vaginas. Not because they needed it, not for any medical reason, because he wanted to shame women for having an abortion. That's Virginia. Now, the guy who's coming behind them is worse. The guy who's coming behind him is worse. What do you do with that? What do you do with that? How is that a choice? So they put up, what's his name? McAuliffe. McAuliffe is essentially, you know, a Clinton plant in a sense. He's in their world. Against the religious maniac. What do you do? What do you do? Now, this particular race, that guy started to run somewhat of a dog whistle racist campaign. And the Democrat started running on fiscal responsibility. Fiscal responsibility. The Democrat. Fiscal responsibility. What are you going to do with that? I voted Libertarian. And my argument is straightforward. It's the no argument. And people say, oh yeah, he's doing a no argument. Yes, but that no argument is not refuted by anything. It's like if my dog pees on my carpet, am I going to give it a dog bone? No, I'm putting it in a kennel. I mean, until you're willing to say, no, you got to eat your peas. You got to take your medicine either now or later. And as the country moves further and further to the right, the hegemonic view of things, your road becomes that much harder. The view shifts to the right. It looks like there are two parties. It looks like the argument that's being had by these two parties is the range of debate. The range of debate is shifting to the right. Shifting to the right. So I asked the question that I always ask. If you don't like the way things are, and yet you continuously do the same things that you've always done, why do you expect to have a different outcome? If you continuously vote for status quo, why would status quo ever change? Why would status quo ever need to change? Their business model, in a sense, has nothing to do with doing the right thing. It's nothing to do with even doing good governance. It has everything to do with we're less worse. That's our business model. That's what we believe in. We're less worse. Comparatively, we're comparative politics. We're not a thing unto ourselves. We're a thing in comparison to these other maniacs. Yeah, we can be less worse. These guys are maniacs. Now, the question I asked my mom was straightforward. At what point do you believe that you get a different place? At what point? You're terrified. You vote for the Democrat. At which point do you believe Democrats need to change? And she says, well, come on. Democrats have to change. And I said, why? You've just proven that they don't. You've made their point. You went into that election terrified of the Republican, as if you're always terrified of the Republican. The reason why blacks vote for Democrat is because they're terrified of the Republican. And in doing so, you completely absolve the Democrat of doing anything. He can do anything in that office. Your vote, the reason why you made your vote, had nothing to do with who he is. It had everything to do with who he wasn't. You absolve him of responsibility. Why do you believe that they have to change? Why? Why? Why do you believe they have to change? You've just showed them that they don't. All of the things that were going around, they cheated the guy. They know they cheated the guy. They lied about cheating the guy. Then they said, we just want to move on. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about it. That was the news. Now, that took place in the primaries and everything else. They lied and cheated about it the entire time. In the election, you still voted for their guy. What took place in the primaries didn't matter. What was going on in politics didn't matter. The fact that they were let down didn't matter. The fact that you were still talking about healthcare right now didn't matter. Didn't matter. None of this mattered. You were terrified of the Republican. Virginia is a diverse group. When you get into Northern Virginia, you're talking about a lot of people from all the ethnic, multi-ethnic. Yeah, you can scare the shit out of those people. And they vote Democrat. Good job. You got success. But that success has nothing to do with who those people are. That's my point. You've completely unshackled them from you. The Hillary Clinton argument. 2016, Hillary Clinton wins. You're a lefty. Hillary Clinton wins. The Sam Cedar argument. I mean, come on. What are you going to do? Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a maniac, right? Hillary Clinton, wherever how bad she is, Donald Trump is a maniac. Do you really want Donald Trump taken into office? She wins in 2016. She privatizes Social Security. She puts a missile defense shield in Syria. She shoots down a Russian jet. She comes into conflict with with Russia in this case. She does all the things that you hate. Maybe one or two sweet things, but mostly the things that you hate. She's given a tax cut. She's doing things that you hate. She passes the Trans-Pacific Partnership. 2020, Hillary Clinton and Ted Cruz. The Pacmans, the Cedars. They're still out there making an argument. I mean, Ted Cruz, he's a religious maniac. I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? He's a religious maniac. You can't give that guy, keys to the kingdom. You can't allow that guy to choose a Supreme Court nomination. You don't have a choice. I know you don't like her. You don't have a choice. I need you to bow your heads. And I need you to bend your knee. And I need you to vote. Not because of who she is, but because of who she is not. And again, you've absolved them of their issue. 2024. Some maniac. Some status quo type. Same argument. 2028. Status quo type. Maniac. Same argument. You've ensconced status quo in your society because you were terrified of the right. At some point, you must realize that you are being scammed. Wake the fuck up. You're being scammed. They're running a scam. And fear is the thing that they use to run this particular scam. When do you say no? When do you say no? Even if that means losing, when do you say no? Aren't you tired of being continuously presented with this thing of you have nowhere else to go? This is the thing that they told labor. You have nowhere else to go. We're not going to do squat for you. You have nowhere else to go. Aren't you tired of that? When do you get tired of that? When do you get tired of that? You're in a relationship. The guy hits you in the eye. The guy's cheating on you. You know he's cheating on you. Nobody wants you. You're overweight. You're ugly. Nobody's going to love you. Nobody wants you. You have nowhere else to go. Yes, I'm going to put my hands on you because you're going to be here when I wake up in the morning. You have nowhere else to go. Those are progressives. Democratic Party being the brute. And they continuously tell you you have nowhere else to go. I'm saying at a certain point, you stand up and you say no. Whether you have somewhere else to go or not, you say no. You start at a fundamental basis of no. I am doing something different. Doing something different. Yes, if I'm a preacher, that's my sermon. That's the thing I toot. Because I think from a strategic standpoint, the capacity for them to lose is your leverage. That's your thing. That's the club that you have in this sense. Meaning being willing to put your body on the line and put your wellness on the line and endure a Republican administration in a sense. Allowing them to lose. Otherwise, you get nothing out of this. You have no leverage. You have no power whatsoever. You vote. You're complicit to vote. Your vote is perfunctory. It doesn't matter. You give your vote away just because they're a Democrat because you're scared of Republicans, in which case Democrats can do whatever they want. The country that you have is out of fear. It's out of fear. Yes, I'm sorry. That's my sermon of sorts. That's my sermon. I'm getting irritated at my sketchy internet. Red economics. Democrat will treat you like shit, but we're slightly better than an alternative. Yeah, that's their argument. That's their continuous argument. Oif Levy. Deep state won't let Nina win. She doesn't play ball. Don't worry about deep state. Honestly, focus on the things that you yourself can control. And I would say attacking the electoral system itself to highlight the fact that this thing needs to be redone it's a good start. I like the fact that Sanders is doing it. He understands that he's not going to get any headway if he's in a rigged process. Attack the fact that the process was rigged. Personally, I would prefer him saying yes, it was rigged, but yes, he's attacking the fact that the process was rigged. Sanders is playing a political game with the Democratic Party and the long-term vision in my mind. Yes, I agree. In the inner mind's eye, I agree. I think the same thing. Uh-oh. David McCall. Somebody was playing you the other day, dude. It was like I wasn't getting my snarky fill in, so they were taking your shoes. Bernie didn't do shit to the Democrats, but sent his followers money to them and urged them to vote Hillary. Stop fantasizing. That's hurtful, man. That's hurtful. Stein Rosenstein. Cruz would be hilarious. Booger eater in chief. Oh, that's gross. That's gross. That's gross. That's gross. Smokey over the line. Bernie took my $1,000 contribution and caved. I won't be suckered again. What did you expect him to do? Now, I don't ask this question with an answer that I know. I'm just asking seriously. I'm curious. And I don't say that to be patronizing. I'm curious. I look at this stuff from a human, what do human beings do? How do human beings behave? I honestly don't know if I can live through Cruz's presidency. Yeah, that's a tough one, man. But you see my point. You're put in no-win situations. Sand allowed himself to be beaten in the way you described. Yes, I agree. I do agree. One thing we never discussed are how fucked up machines. If the machines are fucked, 90% of this is moot. Yeah, I agree. Because you're in this. You make a good point. But I think he was calling for paper ballots also, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong on the paper ballots thing. But yeah, if the machines are fucking over voters, yeah, it's a moot point. It's a moot point. You can't get a fair vote. That's why I keep saying you attack the process. This thing is rigged. This thing is rigged. We need to do something about this thing being rigged. We need to have radical transparency, etc., etc., etc. Yeah. Yeah, Bernie betrayed us. Who gave him money and time and our soul? I would never get suckered by him again either. Rebel Cage Rattler. I have a prediction. I don't make these often. I have a prediction. All of this hatred for Bernie Sanders. All of it. Every last drop of it. And I know saying all is sketchy and difficult because most things are not all. But all of this hatred, I'm going to be provocative, is because of a letdown. Meaning you guys still have feelings for Bernie Sanders. You don't want to own up to it. But it's there. That hurt. This is pain and anguish. It comes out of love. It doesn't come out of anything else. It's love. It's pure and simple political love. He let me down. How dare you, sir? I had expectations for you. You let me down. But implicit in this idea of being let down is you had to be up at some point in the first place. He took you to a particular place. You had certain ideas, certain belief systems. There was a high. Now, I will make the case. That hurt there that burns could be rekindled. If Sanders ran again, you would vote for Sanders. I don't believe most of you guys. I think you would vote for Sanders. I think if it was Sanders versus a maniac, I think you would vote for Sanders. I think you would do it joyously. I think it would be a glorious moment for you to put. You may be tough about it. You may say all sorts of shit about him during the campaign. You may talk shit like nobody's business. But when brass tacks, you're going to pull that lever for Sanders, and you're going to feel amazing about pulling that lever for Sanders. You're saying this now in the abstract. If you ran again, I think you'll be back to where you were to some degree. Maybe a little bruised, maybe a little bitter, maybe a little guarded. The bitter enders. But you will pull that lever. I don't believe that you would. I don't believe you. Smokey over the line. Nope. Gardner. It's contempt, dude. I was always a Green supporter. I just don't like the setback Sanders caused. Again, contempt coming from where? It's not apathy. It's not this kind of cold, paying no attention. It burns. The fact that it burns means there's something there. If Sanders ran again, you would pull that lever. I don't believe you. That's what I'm saying. David McCall, Jamal, don't you see that your viewers, the scales is not favorable to Bernie, the cheat? Oh, you brute. You brute. They won't admit it because showing how Sting matters more than a nation is getting a decent present. No, man. It's because in our... Yes, I agree. But our society, we don't necessarily like translating hurt and pain. They don't want the kumbaya moment. They want to be held. They need to be held. They need to have it pour out of them. the anger and the anguish to let down. They need it to let out of them. They need psychoanalytics. Look, I will be the one that holds you. And I will be the one that says, let it out. Let it out. I mean, come on. You just don't want to show the hurt regards to this. That's what it is. Now, yes, I may have a particular view of this. But yes, I'm being somewhat of a psychoanalyst on this. I think this is hurt. I think this is, I don't want to say it hurt me. That's what I think this is. It stings. I can't let it out. I'm too much of a man. I'm too much of a woman. I don't want to let it out. Let it out. Let it out. Let it out, man. Just let it out. It's like I have this scene in my head where it's two people in a room. One people doesn't want to say anything, and they're just like, the guy just wouldn't let it go. Just wouldn't let it go, and the person finally explodes, and he's like, "You feel better?" "Yes, I feel better." Let it out. The people who voted for Clinton in the primaries are the only people we can blame. Sanders is Howard Dean 2.0. Oh no. Come on, man. Bob Ramirez. Come on, man. Look, we can have a conversation about Sanders. We can have this kind of subjective conversation about what you believe Sanders' impact is, what you believe is going to take place, all those things. There's a certain level of subjectivity when we're trying to analyze the world. Fair enough. Fair enough. Meaning your criticisms to that point can't necessarily impeach you. However, there is a real world out there that can be backed up with a certain amount of data. And insofar as what you're saying does not comport with the real world, I can call bullshit. And I am calling bullshit. Howard Dean 2.0 lobbyists. Howard Dean, you're trying to say that Bernie Sanders, the guy that's been the goddamn socialist for the past 30, 40 years, that guy is Howard Dean lobbyist 2.0. Come on, man. You got to be earnest. You got to be honest. I understand the criticism of Sanders. Like I said, this comes from a place of hurt. I don't want to say it hurt me. I'm tender. I'm tender at 3 in the morning. I don't want to say it hurts. But the reason I say hurt is because of stuff like this that doesn't comport with reality. Now, if what you're saying doesn't comport with reality, I have to ask why it doesn't comport with reality. Why are you lashing out in these ways? This hysterical, this hysterical ravings of a, oh man, I can't say that. It's hysterical ravings. Let's say that. Let's say hysterical ravings. I have to ask why. I have to ask why. What's corrupting your lens in this way? What's corrupting your lens? You felt some kind of way. You believed that he was X. You felt some kind of way. You felt let down and hurt. Own it. Say it hurt. Say it hurt. Let it out. Let it out. Not that many voters knew who Bernie was in 2016. He'll do better in 2020. Kathleen Cohen. That's sensible. Thank you, Kathleen Cohen. Garnome, rough, bro. Yeah, Garnome is hard ass sometimes. Lawrence won Smokey over the line. So one man is supposed to take on the DNC, all their high dollar backer, all the governors and legislatures, attorney generals, governor boards, all by himself. Here comes the cavalry. Here comes the cavalry. Let's have this conversation. Let's have this conversation. The battle lines are drawn. The battle lines are drawn. All right. Lawrence won. Hold the line. Dax Jacobs, Gardno. What do you ever cry over? Oh, wait. Are you just 100% strong and nothing can ever touch you? You know what touched him? When Sanders lost. It hurt. He'd never admit it, but it hurt. At 3 in the morning when he's with his maker, he cries. Gardno weeps at night over this. Bob Ramirez, compare the messages in the campaigns, how they both voted. Come on. Are you serious? They cheated the guy. Outright cheated the guy. That is not how... come on, man. That guy. Howard Dean. Howard Dean's campaign was pummeled and destroyed just from an advertisement war. That's just politics. He wasn't cheated. They fundamentally cheated Sanders. Sanders came out of nowhere. And yes, Sanders didn't necessarily run a race where he was going to try to go for blood early on. Fair enough. But he didn't think he had any chance of winning. That's what I'm saying. From a human standpoint, you got to give the guy a break. This is the part that bothers me on this. Like, this is where I fundamentally miss some of the ire. I don't get some of the ire on this. It's as if you didn't believe he was a human being. It's as if you didn't believe he was a human being. I'm unaware of his religious thing. I don't know. He doesn't carry a Bible. He doesn't walk on water. He's a guy. He's a person. And just like you have a certain conception of the world. You have stories that you tell yourself to allow you a certain paradigm to which you understand your world. In his understanding of the world, he had no chance of winning the presidency. You know who was shocked as shit when Bernie Sanders caught on fire? Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders. If you're starting from that premise where I have no chance of winning this, I'm just pushing the conversation to the left. How do you run a campaign? As opposed to, I am out for blood. I'm out for blood. I'm going to take this. Come on, those are fundamentally different conceptions. It is not fair to say that it's the same thing as Howard Dean. The lobbyist, Howard Dean. Bernie Sanders, on the day that he failed, was out there talking about unions and out there pushing the party to the left. Howard Dean was out there being a lobbyist. It's a big fucking difference. Come on, be fair. Be fair. Red economics. Bernie came to West Virginia and talked about the people, about health care for all. Meanwhile, Howard Dean is shilling for big pharma. Waging the war. I love this. I love this. Hold the line. Hold the line. Just bitter enders. The bitter enders. Fly the flag. Yes. Stein, I agree. Let's see. Let's see. Where is it? Not donating to any of these organizations. Fair enough. Bernie has done a lot I disagree with, but he's not near Howard Dean yet. Yeah, come on. You got to be fair with the Howard Dean. Smokey over the line. 100 million chump change for the arena we're dealing with. He raised $220 million in the primaries. He was outraising Hillary Clinton month after month after month after month. It may be chump change, but you're talking about small ticket donations. The person who gave $27 can give $27 again. Hillary Clinton's big donors were tapping out. It's not chump change. Trump won with like, what, $600 million. Bernie Sanders raised $220 million in just the primaries. That is a massive amount of cash that he was raising. David McCall, he agreed to it. All right, so David McCall is taking the position, a snarky position. He wasn't cheated. He was complicit. He agreed. It was a conspiracy. Yes, I'm wielding the C word, David. I'm wielding the C word. I'm being brutal in this war. Smokey over the line. If Bernie went out after the DNC, he would not have been alone. We would have had millions with us. All right, he's going after DNC now. He's going after the DNC now. Is this not what you wanted? Is this not what you wanted? He's holding the head of Tom Perez, screaming in the ring, how much more is enough? How much more is enough? That's a Gladiator reference, by the way. Smokey over the line. Bernie, yeah, you said that one. There are no political gods. I am a political atheist at this point. Exactly, independent outsider. You judge the guy based upon what the guy does. Rebel Cage Rider, you were going to say the hysterics of a woman. Fess up, pal. I'm not going to say that. I'm not owning up to that. I am not owning up to that. I'm not owning up to that. No, Rebel Cage Rider. I'm not going to own up to that. David McCall. My sentence structure gave it away. Yeah, my sentence structure gave it away. They did not cheat us, Bernie. They cheated the public. Yes, that's true. They cheated the public. I agree, David. I agree. Bob Ramirez. So Sanders was working for Hillary the entire time. Oh, you're a cynical SOB. Red economics, exactly, David. Yes, I agree. Man, I agree with David on this one. I am shocked as shit about this. This is a historic day. This is a historic day. I agree with David on that one. It was the people that were cheated. Those people are indignant for a reason. The Clintons have amassed billions and they are going down. It's all about the money. If you believe it, then why do you support Bernie in the first place? Look, man, in defense of the people who are the bitter enders, because let's be honest, all of us want the same thing. Let's be honest. Like, regardless of what we think is right or wrong in politics, regardless of what we think this particular person did or that particular person did, swipe all of it off. What do you want? I would argue that 99% of what we want is the same. What we're squabbling over is how to get it. I say that to say that the tools are at our disposal in the sense of what's the way to get us to point from a point A to point B. Let's be honest and say that human beings behave in particular ways. Meaning, when a certain amount of stress is applied to a human beings behave in particular ways. And it is impossible for us to know what was acting on a person. Now, Garnome often says it doesn't matter what's in his mind. I would argue it is infinitely important what is in his mind, because what is in his mind explains the behavior, and whether the behavior is consistent with what's being said, whether or not you can trust what the person is doing and what the person is, how they're pursuing that thing, what their goal is. If it's clear that Sanders is trying to run in 2020, which I think it is, he's giving foreign policy speeches and all, I think he's trying to run in 2020, then is it fair to say that what he's doing is political strategy? That being said, I'm going to defend for the moment the people who are going after him on this one and going after me on this one, because they're not crazy. This is one of those things where the perspectives are just, they're fair to some degree. Multiple perspectives on this are fair. You had the left associate themselves with the Democratic Party. You had Obama take office in 2008, running this glorious, euphoric campaign, this hope and change. Think about this. What the fuck does that mean? Hope and change. Your campaign is based on these concepts, these high mountain ideals. Think about the way Marvel Comics, yes, I'm going to Marvel Comics. Think the way Marvel Comics deals with these ideas like eternity and law and order and chaos, or order and chaos. They give these grand concepts avatars, and have these avatars function within the Marvel Universe. So there is a concept called eternity in the Marvel Universe that represents everything in eternity. There is a multiverse being that represents all of these things in the multiverse. Obama ran his campaign as if he was the avatar of hope and change. It was a glorious, euphoric campaign. And then there was a crash. The reality of it, the grim reality falling from this euphoric and glorious campaign where people were out there crying over this guy getting elected. And then you had the reality. What is the left to do? Meaning, if this is what the left was taking and this is what the left got, they're a little cynical. I can understand why. Again, you run somebody in 2016, Bernie Sanders in the primary, saying he's cheated. And the entire time they tell you, we're united, we're united. There was no cheating here. There was no cheating here. It's fair and partial process. They lied for months. They lied for months. So they're not crazy for having this perspective of those guys can go fuck themselves. They're not crazy for that at all. I can understand people being a little bitter and a little hurt by this. Like anything else, if you were an individual person and you had these experiences of highs and lows, yeah, you feel some kind of way about it. You feel some kind of way about it as a collective. Fair enough. I acknowledge the feeling. The feeling is fair. I mean, granted, I can't say the feeling is fair. The feeling is fair just on its own merits. But there is a separate question of what do you want to get accomplished? What do you want to get accomplished? And do you recognize the potential to change, to fundamentally change the hegemonic view of what's considered the left in this country? Are you sick and tired of voting for the Tom Perez's? Are you sick and tired of voting for the milquetoast guys like they had in Virginia or the corporatists that they had in New Jersey? Do you like this idea of Tom Perez firing and getting rid of people who supported Sanders and giving people who supported Ellison? This is an interregnum. Power is in question. The question becomes, what do you do to make sure that you're the winner of that war and that you fundamentally break what's considered to be the left in this country? Fundamentally change it. Fundamentally change it. So yes, I've made the point that my morals are not as good as Debbie's. And if I can move the ball forward to a better direction, I am moving the ball forward, particularly if I think it's a substantial move. And I think a hegemonic shift in what's considered to be the left. Bernie Sanders is not a socialist. Bernie Sanders is just a classic Democrat. Let's be honest. He needed to find some way to distinguish himself, so he called himself a democratic socialist. Fair enough. The guy's a Democrat. He's trying to reinsole the Democratic Party. Now, what am I to do with this? Yes, there were things that took place that I vehemently disliked. But do I leave that be? Meaning, do I come to a situation where I acknowledge that, hey, there's a chance for a fundamental difference of what's considered the left, a fundamental change in what's considered the left in this country, and I'm not going to take it because my feelings are hurt? Yeah, no. And that's not me. I've just made a defense of the feelings in the first place, so that's not me undermining or subverting the feelings. I'm saying for me, that's not enough. I am okay with this in the sense of saying, this guy is doing what he needs to do to position himself to get to point A to point B. If I believe his intentions, I may disagree with some of the steps that he takes. He's a human being. I'm going to disagree with another human being. Do I believe his intentions are real? Yes. Have they shown success, meaning our revolution? Yes. Is winter coming? Meaning, are people revving up for a war in 2020 and 2018? Yeah, I have to say the answer is yes. So, if I know that this is contested, they may have sway now. Will that sway maintain itself throughout 2018 and 2020? That's the question. That's the fight that's up ahead. I say bitter enders as a badge of honor. Hold your shit. Be who you are. So yes, bitter enders. But come on. Give the guy his due. And if you're going to take what the guy is, don't you have to accept for the moment that he's a human being and that he will respond like other human beings? And if you yourself was in the exact same spot, you would probably behave in almost the exact same way. Yeah. My defense of Sanders is he's a person. That's my defense of Sanders. That's my defense of Sanders. Sanders was working with Hillary the entire time. Read in economics. Exactly, David. I don't know what David said. They did not cheat Bernie. They cheated the public. Yeah, I agree. Oh, I saw some Teflon. That's if he's an honest actor, which is itself questionable. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. If I'm going to make the argument that reality is ambiguous, then yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I can't impeach it. Garnome correct socks. If Sanders runs and wins the primary, he's going to run with Tulsi, in my honest opinion. Be utopian for the moment. Be flamboyantly optimistic. He exceeds the primaries. That's a sea change. Like, I have no way to drill that into the ground any more than what I have. That is a fundamental sea change. Now, what that means, I mean, man, I just think that's a sea change. That's all. I think that's a fundamentally different society. I honestly do. Politics changes, particularly when parties have found themselves to be failures. Their existence does not, in effect, justify its continued existence. Just because they want to persist the way things are. Every order wants to persist itself. Every new order seeks to get rid of it. You have a new order that's sprung up based on their failures. It's based on their failures. Sanders, I would argue, is that new order to some degree. He's a classic Democrat. Yes, he needs to go further. It's not a New Deal. He needs to go further than a New Deal. Fair enough. But come on. That's a sea change. That's a win. That is a win. You may say it's a modest win. I would say you're insane. I would say that's a radical win. That's a radical win. I'll vote for Bernie in the primaries, and if he wins, I'll vote for him in the election. If he loses, I'll vote again Green. Fair enough. Agreed. Me too. For you, it is about feeling then. I see supporting Sanders as a poor strategic choice. It's not about the feelings. How is it a poor strategic choice? He is your nuclear weapon. You think that Tom Perez and all these other Democrats, you think Donna Brazile, the way she's, yeah, I call Bernie and say, Bernie, as if we're buddy-buddy. You think all of them are doing this because they love Bernie fucking Sanders. Honestly, you think politicians behave in ways because it's, you know, it's integrity or anything else. They behave in ways because they believe they want their political survival. They try to get things out of it. They're political actors. If they're behaving towards Sanders in a way, if they have Sanders shuffling about in front of the Democratic Party, they're doing it because they're leveraging his credibility and what the audience thinks of him. It's not a poor political choice. It's a fucking amazing choice. It's fucking amazing. It's like Szechuan sauce at McDonald's. It's fucking amazing. Jamal is talking like a hillbot last August. I was not. I was not. You've never. There would be no video where you would have me talking about Hillary Clinton. None. For you, it's about feelings. Then I say, it's not sport. It's not feelings. To some degree, I think it is. I think the hurt is about feeling. Yeah. I think people being pissed off at him is about feeling. Yeah, I do. I do. I could be wrong. I can't touch reality, but some of this seems out of hurt. Yeah. I think Nader was a real deal. He was a real deal. He called what Bernie would do in 2015 to 2016. That's true. Nader called what Bernie would do because ultimately Bernie had already said he's not going to do anything for Hillary Clinton to lose. So yeah, he called it. Yep, Nader and Hedges, yeah. Agreed. Yep, Democrats are using Sanders. Yes, they are, and he's using them too. This is both using the other. My friends warned me that Obama was not a good guy and would make no difference. I voted for him as a Hail Mary. Fair enough. The two parties have chokehold on the system. That's why Sanders is running as a Democrat. Agreed. Yes, 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 yes. I agree that feelings played a big role in how it's played out in the public sphere. Thank you, Gardno. Thank you. Thank you. My wife, Mrs. Thomas, hates it when I psychoanalyze people in her family, or her for that matter. But I do think what people think and how they behave is important. I'm fascinated by it. The things, how they come up with decisions and stuff like that. What are the pressures that are on these people when they make these choices? And Bernie, particularly, because Bernie, the thing that's driving him is going counter-current. You understand that, right? Like, the thing that's usually driving these guys is purely this thing of profit or power or whatever, status, whatever. He's taken this to the level of, no, I have a philosophical belief in what I think the world should be. And politically, I am pushing to get that particular belief. I don't care about the cash. I don't care about the money. I'm doing this because I think it's right. A man on a mission. It's fucking amazing. Yeah, I'll put my vote behind that. Even if I don't agree with everything he does, I believe his intent. That's a big fucking deal to me. That's a big deal to me. Titus Jamal, why do you think his chances are with the Republicans running against Trump? What do you think the chances are of the Republicans running someone against Trump? Oh, that would be fascinating. That would be fascinating. That would be fascinating. Like, if he's that weak, here's the question. Is Trump even going to run? Would Trump even run? Would Trump say, you know what, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of them taking shots at me. I'm sick of all this. Or, like you said, would he be so toxic that they would run somebody against him? That would be a fuckfest. That would be a fuckfest. Part of the reason why I was happy that Hillary Clinton didn't win, even though I hated the fact that Donald Trump lost, was because I looked at this 2020 question. The question of 2020. If Hillary Clinton is in office, you're not going to get somebody to run against her. Nobody is going to run against her. And would she run against Ted Cruz, and would she lose to somebody like Ted Cruz? Oh my God. Oh my God. If she loses to Ted Cruz. We've been having this argument of whether Ted Cruz is worse than Donald Trump. I think Ted Cruz is worse. I think Mike Pence is worse, if I'm being honest. There are worse things than Donald Trump. And at the very least, if they come to the decision of, are we going to run somebody against Donald Trump, that would split their party like nobody's business. In the same way that if somebody tried to run against Hillary Clinton, it would split the party. Thing is, I don't think they would even let anybody run against Clinton. I don't think so. But against Trump, if he's weak enough, maybe. Maybe. That would be amazing. That would be mind-blowing. Yeah, I'm pissed. I'm seriously pissed. Kathleen Cohn. The inner mind's eye. It's easy to dismiss Sanders. However, he does have a long legacy of progressive political consistency and is now playing a strategic game with the establishment instead of alienating himself from them. Yes. Yes. The inner mind's eye grabs a brick and swings. Yes. Yes. Yes, Bob. Ugh. Exclamation point. Keep progressives from organizing in third parties. Keep us busy until summer. The establishment Republicans don't have the balls to challenge Trump in the primaries. They whack him first. Smoke it over the line. Well, here's the question. If he's weak enough, maybe. I mean, you had this thing where Donald Trump was so toxic, he was scaring the shit out of people. You understand, the House of Delegates in Virginia has gone blue. Democrats were down by like 20 seats. They picked up like 20 or 30 seats. A socialist one. A socialist one without the help of the Democratic Party. A socialist one. Of the people who disliked Trump that went to the polls, 86% voted Democrat. He is toxic. He is toxic. If he gets too bad, they would run somebody against him. They would be terrified of losing the next election. They would run somebody against him if they want to hold the presidency. Yes. If Hillary runs again, my advice to anyone listening, if that's allowed to happen, flee the country if you can. Kathleen Cole, my job is not to empathize with Sanders, but rather to judge his utility as a public servant. Gardner was being a hard ass. But the statement, hold on. Yes. Yes, yeah, okay, fair enough. But even by that standard, I think you're wrong. Like, yeah, even by your own standard, I think you're wrong if you're going to judge his public utility. Who's your candidate? Explain to me. Who's your candidate? Who's the guy that you're pushing for? What's the thing that you're rallying around? Like, I make this argument that, yes, you should say no, but at the very least, I have somebody in mind. I have a plan. I have a strategic point in mind, conception of achieving a particular objective. Now, you're saying his utility. I'm saying that Democrats are not using it for no reason. What you're saying flies in the face of what their behavior is. Now, either they're wrong in thinking that Sanders is a utility because they're damn sure using him, or you're wrong. I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong. I think what you're saying flies in the face of what's taking place. That's what I think. That's what I think. I think his utility is fucking amazing. I think his utility is fucking amazing. I think it's self-apparent, to be honest. If you're looking at this with a clear lens, I think it's self-apparent. Get out of your sandbox. Swim out of your ocean. Get out of your sandbox. You're in a box. You're in a box. The outside world does not see him in the context to which you're seeing him. That's my point. That is my point. If Bernie plays his cards right, he could win the primary in the general and install the Democratic dream team that would change the direction of this future forever. Forever! Yes, hegemonic domination. Hegemonic domination. In the same way that the right, when you ask the right, how much more do you need? They say more. How further to the right you want to go? Further. There is no endpoint. Yeah. Your goal is to win, not to keep having these games, these existential games. You're trying to hegemonic domination. And what I mean by that is, because that's a little esoteric. Why aren't you racist right now? Why don't we consistently have conversations about rape culture? Like, you don't have the debate of whether rape is okay. These people coming out with these rape allegations or these sexual harassment allegations, the public is decidedly against the person who's doing the damage. But why? Why is your public against those people? Why is the public against sexual assault? Why is the public not racist? Why does the public hate it when people are racist and sexist and bigoted? Why is the public that way? Now, you may say, well, why is that? That's a stupid question, but that's kind of my point. It's taken as if it's breathing. It's just understood. These things are wrong. These things are frowned upon. Our society doesn't like these things. I'm saying, why? That's hegemonic domination. It's accepted as the pretext. This is just the way things are. This is a fundamental basis of our reality. Anybody who's going outside is going out the confines of the norm. Those people are ostracized. Those people are talked about. Those people are shamed. Now, yes, you can make a point that says, well, those things are wrong. I get that. That your society can be arranged in all sorts of ways. You believe those things are wrong. That's my point. That's hegemonic domination in regards to their battle of ideas. You've won. You've won. Congratulations. The left has won that one. These other ones, not so much. These other ones, not so much. I'm saying that Sanders, getting in that seat, pulls the conversation to the left. And it gives a new idea of what it means to be the left. You have a certain amount of domination in regards, at least from a standpoint of party politics, of what does it mean to be a Democrat. It fundamentally changes. It changes. That's what I think. You may say that's me being utopian. You may say that's me giving too much credit to Bernie Sanders. All of those things may be true, but that's why I stick my flag. Bitter ender. I'm getting that t-shirt. The bitter ender. Yeah, bitter ender. Jamal may actually make it to 420. I know this is going on a lot longer. But we're having the conversation, so, you know. Not to mention, we have 45 people watching. This is fucking amazing. It's 4:13 in the morning. We have that many people watching. It's amazing. Cenk Uygur in 2020. Chelsea Clinton for vice president. Oh, that's wrong. That's wrong. The public is less racist now. Come on. The public is less racist now because cultural norms. People become parrots when you put them into groups. Many of these people have no real philosophical about racism. They just repeat. I get that. It doesn't matter whether they have a philosophical thing. They do it. They're complicit. They're compelled into the behavior. It doesn't give a shit about. It doesn't matter if the people question why they do the things that they do. It just matters that they do them. Bow your head and fall aligned. But that's my point. It's like breathing. It's not something that people have a conscious recollection of. They just understand being racist is bad. Whatever reason you want to give to why they do it, that is the hegemonic norm. That's my point. That's a win. That's a battle in a sense. That's a war of trying to kind of changing the way society views itself. It's a reconfiguration of the way society visions itself. That's what I'm saying. Hegemonic future, hegemonic change. If we say we're against rape, but every cop, conversation about criminals, we accept rape as a component of prison culture. Yeah, we do. No, we do. But you know what I mean. Come on. You're getting in the weeds. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to get at. Rubber Cage Rattler still here. Stevie, I say motivate immigrants, the poor, disenfranchised to vote third party. How do you motivate them to do that? You agree. You see, it doesn't matter why people think this or that. It only matters what they do. That's contextual to the conversation we're having. That's not an absolute. That's contextual. That's contextual. That's contextual. Can't lose one point to bounce around to another point. I'm trying to be slick. Bite your tongue, no Clinton never. Oh wow. I'm getting the Bitter Ender t-shirt with the first in the air. I'm getting that t-shirt first. That's my t-shirt. I'm getting that t-shirt first. Bitter Enders. The Bitter Enders. I am green, but if I ran, I would run indie to appeal to all sides. Common sense, yes, hegemony. We know what people want. Look at Yes Men and Politicon. I got you. Yeah, I got you. I like having these conversations with Gardner. Because I do think it's contextual. I think there are times where, yes, it matters what people do. Other times it doesn't. It just depends on what we're talking about. Smokey over the line, $10. Ah, Smokey, thank you. Thank you. I've been on for 3 hours. $10. Thank you, Smokey. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Hell, that's why I got voted third party. It was lose-lose between Hillary and... Yeah, Jill Stein was the only... I voted for Jill Stein also. Jamal, do you watch Expanse on Sci-Fi? I watched the first season. I haven't watched the second season. And I gotta be honest, I couldn't tell you one thing that was in it because I don't remember it. I like remember bits and pieces. It's contextual. I speak in absolutes in chat because it's easier. No, I understand. I know if we were having a conversation, it would be more fine-grained than this. I know. That's fair. Very good that you have been programmed at 4 a.m. as is 6 hours here in Vienna, Austria. Peter G from Austria. Wow, that's range. That's range. That is range. That's awesome. That is so wild to me, man. Commonality. Commonality. That's amazing. I love it. I love it. Multiple different countries in it saying, yes, that what that guy is saying is fucking epic, and I agree. I agree. We're also bitter enders, even though we're not in this country. That's awesome. Absolutely red. Third parties have to be responsive. Yes, they do. Glutenbug and Peter. Oh, smoking over the lot. Nice, Peter. I've always wanted to visit Vienna. Me too. Me too. We visited multiple places in Europe. We never got the opportunity to visit Vienna. Yeah, agreed. Rocky Boy's probably a fan. And I noticed you added the boy instead of the man. If you're going to deride him, at least let him be a man. Let him be a man. Whoa, Smokey's a big baller brand. Yeah. She's throwing it out there. It's zipping a credit card down my ass cheeks. It's only after you lost everything that you're free to vote your conscience. No, you can vote your conscience at any time. It's your vote. It's your vote. I would argue it's easier to be detached in order to vote in a particular way. It's almost like you need a certain amount of space in order to do that. But the case that I make is you're voting out of fear in that way. It just moves it further to the right. It's almost like you're eating yourself with that vote. Like, understand, the way the Democratic Party has organized itself, it let unions get attacked and destroyed. That's their base. They allowed their base to be eaten alive because they moved so far to the right that they didn't necessarily want it. The people who were giving them cash, the last thing they wanted is strong unions. So what did the Democratic Party do? They let their unions, they let their base go to wash with this idea of you have nowhere else to go. And the union said, you're right. You can punch me in the face, you can beat me, you can kick me, you can cheat on me, you can stick a stake in me. At the end of the day, we'll still be here. It doesn't matter. And for the last 40 years, they've still been there. And it's only just now where they're like, okay, Maybe we should do something different. Maybe we should do something different. Kathleen Cohn, we need Jamal's voice in the narrative. Oh, thank you, Kathleen Cohn. That is why I started my channel. That is why I started my channel. I was arrogant enough to be like, I have shit to say. I have stuff to say. I need to say it. And I just looked at it and said, you know what? If people hear it, great. If people don't, I will be screaming in the forest by myself like a maniac. But I have shit to say. Just so happy people started to say, hey, that guy has shit to say. That guy has shit to say. Red economics. Why you strip all the BS away, third party is the only thing that makes sense. It does. For one or two things. Either to scare the shit out the Democratic Party to let them know that yes, you have an alternative. Or to destroy the Democratic Party. Meaning either they change or they're abolished. But either way, that still starts with this idea of a third party. It just does. You just need to get over the hurdle. Jamal is a ghost in the shell, Bob Ramirez. That sounds epic, but I don't exactly know what it means. Weed is legal in much of the country. There's hope. That is true. That is true. That's been a war we've been waging. And ultimately, again, this battle is over ideas, man. It's over ideas. You're fighting for the narrative. What does it mean to be free? What does it mean to be patriotic? All those things. You're fighting for these ideas. Most of us vote third now. We have the problem. You've done some cool shit since the start. Been on shows, made some cash, been on panels. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's been, what, 10 months? Yeah, it's been 10 months. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. I like it, if that makes sense. Like it feels as natural can be. And because of that, there may be a tendency to I guess, to be too me, if that makes sense, or be too into it. But no, I like it. I like it. I feel natural as natural can be. I like it. Thanks. Still on to mostly young. Yeah, we're still on. We need to get the rest of America to vote third party too. That's the dilemma. How do you do it? How do you do it? That's the dilemma. I do not know how to get over that hurdle. Nick Bronner tried to solve that with Sanders. That's why he had draft Sanders. That's why he was going that route. He understood that that was a hurdle, and the question was, how do you get over the hurdle? So now he's gotten rid of the draft Sanders thing. It's just gone with People's Party. They need to come up with creative action. I honestly hope that these guys are working behind the scenes with those unions, working behind the scenes with our revolution, working behind the scenes with Justice Democrats, brand new. I want all these guys to be working behind the scenes. Coordinated action. Not necessarily being explicit about it in public, but coordinated action. Including bringing Sanders in. Whether Sanders runs as a third party or not, Sanders should be a part of the process. This should be this kind of red wedding of sorts. And yes, they should play off each other in order to get the objectives accomplished. If Democrats think they had unions, they should be shocked as shit when at the last moment none of those unions support Democrats. Creative solutions exist. They exist. That's why I'm not without hope. Oh, we've made it to 420. We've made it to 420. I can't blaze responsibly on camera. If I was in Washington, D.C., I would, yes, blaze responsibly, but I can't do it on camera. I don't want to have a... We've been talking about the cop that comes to your house and is like, is this you on camera smoking this pot? Yes. You know it's against the law. It's against the law. Democracy is hard work. This sucks. Yeah, I want an alienated democracy where these guys, and you know, you cut on the lights and the lights are there. You get water, you have clean water. You need nutritious food is there. You need shelter, you add it. There's no poverty. I don't necessarily want to be engaged in politics continuously, constantly. There's something to be said for an alienated system. The problem is that system gets corrupted if people are involved. How do you be a technocrat where it's process and not people? It's robotic computer government. That's what we need. We need a robotic government. A minority is powerless when conforms to the majority. It's not even a minority then. It's resistible when it clogs its own whole way. Yeah, man, you have to hold your shape and be willing to say no. Otherwise, you're complicit. I know it's scary. Republicans are horrible. Republicans are horrible. I understand. It's an herbal cigarette officer. Just prop for my show. Fair enough. Fair enough. Except when they find the actual pot in the house. It's like until that happens. Until that happens. And he's smoking my pot in his car. Jamal, you're not helping my insomnia. Yeah, I'm insomniac myself. My wife is upstairs. The funny part is, she fell asleep earlier today and she was supposed to come downstairs to play chess with me, but I never finished the show. So she's probably asleep. All right, this has gone for nearly 3 hours, and I am actually getting tired. Guys, I appreciate you guys showing up. It is 4:20 in the morning, so I'm going to end it on that mark. We started at a particular place, and we winded up into typical ways we wind up going into cannibalism and everything else. The ethics of cannibalism. Fearless. The show is fearless. The show is fearless. Yeah, Dave Weigel's gonna be like, they were writing about eating people. They were talking about eating Hillary Clinton alive. There's gonna be all sorts of shit that Dave Weigel's gonna be writing. The intersection between politics and philosophy, man. Come on, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. I mean, this is the way I view politics. This is the way I view all this stuff. I love it. I love it. All right, guys. I want to end this. Thank you for showing up. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed the show. The guys who donated, thank you. I appreciate it. If you enjoy the content, of course, you guys can always support through Patreon. Thanks, everyone.